Hello everyone and welcome to another live stream here in our channel. Today it's Friday and Fridays we do 3D. We do 3D live. We have questions. We are gonna have a great time and yeah, that's pretty much it. Today, as you guys saw on the what's the word, on the little like thumbnail or on the little announcement that we did on the socials, we are going to be doing Doctor Doom. Why, you might ask? If you're asking why we're doing Doctor Doom, you guys are living under a rock. Last week was Comic-Con and there were a lot of announcements for movies and for Marvel stuff and things like that. Today I'm gonna be going to watch the Deadpool and Wolverine movie, so that's gonna be fun. And one thing that they announced is that Robert Downey Jr. is coming back as a Doctor Doom for the two new Avenger movies that are going to be coming out in 2026, if I'm not mistaken, and 2028 or something like that, which is Doomsday. Let me check real quick. Let's go over here, say Doom Avenger movies. So they just announced new. Where are they? Ah, come on, Google. You have not updated. Let's see if it's right here. Accept. There we go. So Doomsday is coming May 2026, so 2 years from now. And then there was another one, but I don't see it. And I'm pretty sure it was Secret Wars, right? Can you guys confirm that? Pretty sure it was Secret Wars. Turco, saludos hasta Guadalajara, mi estimado. Vato, tengo que ir a Guadalajara, hace rato que no voy. Tengo, no familia directa, pero amigos muy cercanos. Y se pone chidas las visitas. How soon will Seaverse be available on iPad? Well, they say they're going to start charging on September, so it should at least be available there. Like, I'm not going to be paying $10 if the product's not is not there. My God, yeah, you didn't know that? I'm from Mexico, dude. I'm from Mexico. I'm Mexican. Have you watched Deadpool? No, I'm gonna be watching it today. We have a little kid, she's 3 years old, and it's difficult to go to the movies, especially movies like this. Like the last movie we went to see was Inside Out 2 with her, with our little girl, and she couldn't handle it. Like by mid-movie, she was already trying to jump from the seat and stuff like that. So it's difficult, but my mom is gonna be taking care of her today, so my wife and I, we're gonna go and see it. Yeah, dude, I'm Mexican. Let's see. I did not like the RDJ casting. See, I don't mind it at all because Doom is completely disfigured. So as long as he changes his acting, and he's a very sort of like Shakespearean actor when he wants to, I think he can make a good job. And that's what I wanted to talk about. Like, go full screen. Like, I was really hyped because one of my favorite Marvel family is the Fantastic Four. So when they announced the Fantastic Four movie, I was also super hyped. And one of my favorite ones is Secret Wars. Like this book right here, guys, if you have not read Secret Wars, get it. It's just an amazing series. There's a lot of build-up before this this big series or this big event, but it's such a good book, like so good. And the version of Doom that's here, well, first of all, the art is beautiful. This is by Esad Ribic. It's freaking like it's just an amazing thing to watch. And the way that the story unfolds is just so good. So if you guys can get this one, even if it's just for the art, it's so worth it. And Doom, he's such a cool character. Like I've read a bunch of Doom things, and I love how arrogant he is. Like he's top tier arrogant. Like there's absolutely no one more arrogant than freaking Doom, right? So I'm gonna spoil a little bit of an event that happened a couple of years ago. There was an event where this Eternal, you guys know the Eternals, right, from Marvel? So, no, the Eternals, sorry, the Celestials. So there was this event in Marvel Comics where one Celestial was going through the world and he was judging every single superhero. And he was like evaluating whether they were worth it or not and things like that. Well, when it came the moment to judge Doom, he asked him, "You need to admit that Reed Richards is better than you." And Doom just like turned around, laughed, and went away. And it says that the Celestial is thinking is like, I tried to evaluate Doom. He evaluated himself, and he passed. So yeah, that's it. So yeah, it's a really cool character. Dr. Doom is one of those like iconic characters, and I think with the Russo brothers and with RDJ, there is a chance that they don't mess it up. I know that it doesn't have the build-up that it had, that like Thanos had with like the Infinity Saga, but I really, really hope that they do a good job because he's an amazing character. Anyway, let's see. Saludos desde Panamá. Quiero decir que empecé su tutorial 3D character for 3D prints. Está genial, gracias. Rick, you are welcome. Rick just mentioning that he just started the anatomy course. The new anatomy course for 3D printing. He's a 10 billion that thinks he's a 1210. Yeah, there's a quote on that book. I'm not gonna spoil it because it's such a good quote. But yeah, it's really, really good. So I'm actually gonna be using the base mesh from the anatomy course to start with the mask here for Dr. Doom. So let me get it real quick. Where is it? Should be this one. I read somewhere that Franklin maybe appears in the movie. Oh, interesting. Yeah, there we go. So this is one of the early versions of the character from the anatomy course, and as I mentioned, we're gonna be using the face as a base. So let's clone this, and there we go. I'm gonna turn on perspective. No perspective. There we go. So the process for sculpting hard surface requires a bunch of different things. So what we're gonna do here, guys, is we are gonna be pretty much sculpting straight on top of the mask, and then we're gonna clean up those surfaces and give them a little bit of thickness. My plan with this mask is to try and see if we can 3D print it as well, like real scale, so that we can have it as a collectible here on the background. That would be pretty cool. So yeah, let's see. Kudos is saying, Abraham, I'm struggling with making garments with sculpting and masking. Should I choose to make it using... If you want really realistic garments, Cruz, then yes, Marvel's Designer is definitely the way to go. But if you want to keep things in a more sort of like stylized way, kind of like Fortnite and things like that, it's mainly just practice. It's mainly just practice to make sure that it works. So we're gonna Dynamesh. We don't need all of this, what's the word? All of this resolution. And one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on polish on the Dynamesh, so that when we start doing Dynamesh, we're going to get a little bit of a harder edge on the whole thing. So as you can see, we're start getting a little bit of a nicer, more mechanical looking element. And what I like to do is I like to start with just clay buildup and just why are we having ads so frequently here? I just want to start with the basic blockings of the face. So if we take a look at Doom's face, you're gonna see that there's a bunch of different variations, there's a bunch of different ideations or things, but the important thing is that it's like plates, right? It's made of like plates, it has like rivets and things like that. So this kind of stuff is what we're looking for. And what we need to do is we need to define what the main plate is gonna be first. So I really like this one right here, and I really like this one right here. This one's kind of like the gladiator mask. So we're just going to start like thinking about forms and figures. And as you can see, one of the things that's important about this, it focuses on the bony landmarks of the body. And well, that's what we want to do. So I'm going to go with clay buildup here, and I'm just going to start like sketching how I imagine things to be. As you can see, I'm going to be erasing a lot of stuff. The mouth and stuff like that, we don't need that detail just yet. Let me get this. I'm gonna have this on my second monitor, guys, so I apologize that we're not gonna be able to see the reference. It's just easier for me to do this. When do you do Dynamesh and when do you do Zero Mesher? When I'm blocking the initial shapes of my character, I try to keep it with a Dynamesh because it allows me to construct form very easily, and I can just focus on like, again, creating and form. When I want clean, very nice, tight, like corners or borders or things like that, that's when we jump into Zero Mesher. Dilthos, thank you for the sub, my friend. Thank you. Why do most characters artists sculpt the garments in Silvers then recreate the garments in Marvel Designer? Yeah, exactly. It's just like a placeholder to get an idea of how things are gonna look, man. Again, remember that there's no exact method, like this is the way to do something. I remember when I was learning Maya in my Intro to Maya class, we had a great teacher. His name was Max. Oh my god, what was his name? Last name? Dayan. Max Dayan. I think it's Max Dayan. And he said that every single thing that you can do in Maya, you can do in 3 or 4 different ways. So if you want to create a cube, you can use the shelf button, you can use one of the shortcuts from the marquee menus, you can use a shortcut from the keyboard, you can use the smart radial pie menu. So there's always like 2 or 3 ways to do something. And there's no right or wrong way. At the end of the day, all of them are creating a cube. So what's right or what's wrong is what works the best for you as an artist, okay? So if you are like, hey, for me, it's better to just go directly to marbles and do the garments there without having a base, go for it. If for you, it's better to do something in Maya and then go to freaking Mudbox and then come back and do it in Procreate or something, go for it. Like, there's, again, in our industry, one of the things that matters the most is the result. Like, does your result works? If it works, then you're good to go. I always sculpt with the perspective off, David, because the perspective by default is it's a very distorted view. As you can see right here, it really pushes the distortion quite a bit, and that's not what we want. However, if you do want to like work with the perspective on, one advice that I can give you is go to the draw menu and change the focal length from 50 to something like 85. That's gonna give you a little bit of a flatter look, and it's gonna give you, it's not gonna distort things too much. So both of them work. Now here I'm gonna use Damien Standard to just start sketching how I imagine some of these things to be. Again, this is sort of like the exploration phase, like the thumbnailing phase of the whole process, to see how I'm imagining the mask. Let me look for another one. No, that's not a trim brush. I'm using the trim dynamic brush. So most of them seem to have, again, this sort of like gladiator face. Okay, I really like this. Oh. One thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna separate the nose. So the nose is gonna be its own sort of like thing, and it's gonna be a very straight thing. So I'm gonna delete a little bit of that nasolabial fold, and I'm gonna again jump back. This one is one of my favorite brushes. It's called the trim dynamic brush, which is a brush that creates planes very, very fast, very efficiently. Anthony says, I've got a question. I said you're doing high poly first and then retopology. Then with this retopologize your project, your details. It depends. Normally, and this is what I did with the dwarf on the substance course. If you guys remember, he has like a ram shoulder pad. So I did the character here inside of ZBrush, like the sketch, like I'm doing right now. And then with that sketch, I went ahead and brought it into Maya, or actually Topogon, to do the retopology. I created all of the forms, and since most of the work was going to be done with texturing, I didn't come back to ZBrush. Like, I just again, I just did the retopology and then UVs and straight to substance. However, sometimes yes, you might need to do a reprojection of the textures and bring it back over here. Is it okay to also have some fan art work in the ArtStation? Yes, it's okay. But as I've always said about fan art, guys, fan art is really good to get likes. it really helps because people immediately identify what you're doing. But unless you do a really kick-ass job, it can backfire. And that's the problem with fan art, that if you don't do it properly, it will backfire on you and people will immediately tell you, hey, that looks like shit, right? So if you cannot do something that actually looks really freaking cool, it becomes a little bit difficult. One of the things that I advise for fan art is either find a concept piece that's very unique, very stylized or very realistic, or like I've seen, I remember this, like when I was a student, these were very famous medieval Avengers. Someone did like concept pieces of the medieval Avengers. There we go. And this is not AI. Someone actually did these things. This was, again, back in, look at that, 2012, so more than 10 years ago. Look at Loki right there. Iron Man, freaking amazing. The Hulk, Black Widow, Hawkeye, this one's Iron Man. So he did this sort of like medieval fantastic version. So if you want to do a fan art that's going to be unique and it's going to give you more sort of like points because it's, again, very unique, very new, doing stuff like this is better than just doing another Loki, another sort of like Iron Man and things like that. But it's okay, it's fine. Like, for instance, you guys saw the Wolverine that I did a couple of weeks ago. I'm not going to include that in my portfolio, but I've been showing it on my socials, and it's definitely getting a little bit of traction because, well, it's Wolverine. So, fan art is not bad, it's just something that you need to, again, evaluate where you want to use. Let's do another cut right there. There we go. So I'm thinking again about the planes and the divisions of the whole thing. I'm not sure. What do you guys think? Should we have like a mouth opening or just like the shape of the lips right here? Extra points if you sculpt Abe. No one has done a sculpt of me so far. Let's hope that when they do, they do a good job. Let's go here. It's definitely gonna go all the way over here. It's not gonna go under the jaw because then it's gonna be difficult to put on. So it's probably gonna be like that. I mean, we could do the full helmet as well. I know in some versions Doom has the whole thing, and in other versions it's just the face. One very interesting thing that I'm seeing on the references is that most of them are following again the bony landmarks, like bony protrusions of the face. So they're creating these very interesting shapes. Like there's this one that has like a circle right here. That's the frontal bone. We cover all of this in the anatomy course. Try to make it like you said. No, he's very arrogant. So yeah, he's definitely gonna be like angry. It's definitely like an angry face. I don't know him. You don't know who? Doom? You don't know Dr. Doom? I would say he's one of the top 5 villains in comic book history. Like, I would like who would you rank, guys, as the top 5 Marvel villains? Like, I would place Dr. Doom there. The Green Goblin probably is a very famous one, very common one. Who else? Galactus, maybe? Ultron, yeah, definitely Ultron. Definitely Ultron. Now, one cool thing that you can do, for instance, here is with Damien as standard, you can actually use the Alt function to make a line that goes to the other direction. So instead of like carving in, it carves out. It's a really good way to define a plane right there, as you can see, for instance, for that lower lip. Venom, yeah, Venom, definitely Venom. There we go. I definitely want those lines to look a little more straight. I like to use the clay buildup here and then trim dynamic to again make a change of planes. Something like that. There we go. Carnage, yeah. Kong is it was a tricky choice when they picked Kong. When I came back from Noman, this was in 2016, there was a new comic book store very close here to my house, and I started buying a lot of comic books because at that time I had a lot of disposable income. Now that I think of it, I should have invested in other things, but I bought a lot of comic books, and Kong was always like on the sidelines. There was a cool history with the Inhumans. I really like the Inhumans as well. It was a really cool like event there where Kong was involved. And yes, he's a threat because he jumps through time and stuff, but he's very weird. So that's why I also thought that doing the whole Kong, what's the word? Like movies and things was a little bit of an odd choice. I understand why they did it, because at that time they didn't have access to all of the other licenses, right? They were kind of like constrained to without Fantastic Four and without X-Men. I studied a high-priced theory course, and despite being unemployed, I'm now working in graphic design to feel like started a little funny, right? Yeah, exactly, man. One of the things that I always say is, Life is so weird, guys. Like, you end up doing things that you didn't even imagine you were gonna do. Like me right now. Do you think when I was a student, I was gonna be like creating content and tutorials and teaching? No. But I found that I was good at teaching, and I love teaching, so I just went with it. That's how life works. You see how life flows, kind of like a river. If you let yourself go in that direction, you're gonna find interesting things. If you could make him a hood, it would be ZBrush or Marvelous Designer. What do you prefer? I'll probably do it in Marvelous, to be honest. I already have a hood, by the way. Should we add one hood? Let me see, where is it? I need to open Maya. Let's import the hood. That's definitely gonna make him look way more interesting. What was your dream college job while you were in college? Oh, that's a great question. Blizzard Cinematics. I always wanted to work there. Like, if I could have, like, still today, like, if I get an offer to work for the Blizzard Cinematic Department, I will definitely have to think, like, strongly about it, because that's one of my dream jobs. Like any cinematic, pretty much. There's another very good cinematic. Like, there's of course Blur Studios. They also do a lot of cinematics, but I've heard that the work culture there is very intense. There's another one. I think they're called Digic, and this one's in Europe. So Digic Studios. I think they did the Witcher 3 like cinematics as well. Oh, come on. There we go. So yeah, these guys are also really good, and I'm not exactly sure where they are. Where are they? Application? No, not application tips. Let's see if they got jobs. So they're looking for animators. Ah, there you go. They are looking for a character modeler. Interesting. But yeah, like Digic Pictures. Again, I don't remember where they are. I think they're in like Denmark or something. But yeah. Any tip on how I can learn lighting or realistic renders? We have a bunch of information about that on the channel, man. You might want to like take a look in some of the old videos right there, because there's again a lot of information about lighting your character, like clay renders and things like that. Okay, so over here on the side, I think I'm gonna continue this line back. Go. And again, it's a matter of building the volume, and then once you have the volume, using Train Dynamic to clean it up. And in just a couple of minutes, well, not a couple, but in a little while, we're gonna jump into Maya to clean all the shapes. There we go. Hungary, they're in Hungary, nice. I went to Hungary when I was younger. I visited the capital. Very nice place. Budapest, right? When do you use Blender for sculpting? Because ZBrush is superior, man. It's not that Blender is bad, because I'm gonna get people are gonna clip that and take me out of context. Blender is really good. Blender is an excellent software. I love it. I use it all the time. However, there are more specialized softwares for a lot of different things. So I always mention that Blender is a great starting point, and if you want to stay like sort of like indie, that's fine. But most people that that take my courses or look for my mentorships and things like that, they want to work at the big studios, and the big studios are going to be using the big softwares. And ZBrush right now is the big sculpting software. It doesn't mean that that's not a good software, like the Blender is not a good software. It just means that it's not as powerful as ZBrush. So one thing is, since it's programmed within the same interface as Blender, I've seen that it can get really slow, especially when you're going into the really high poly count. And ZBrush now, you can if you have a strong computer, you can go really high on the what's the word, on the poly count, and you're not gonna have that much of an issue. I'm gonna make this a little bit more intense here, because I feel like he looks very stoic right now, and I want to make him a little bit more, someone said, arrogant. So I might need to make him a little bit angrier. There we go. Blender is good because, but ZBrush is especially, yeah, exactly. ZBrush is specifically made for sculpting, right? We're gonna be missing the divots, but I'm gonna be adding those a little bit later. So, there we go. Want to see? Okay. So now we need to add a couple of cut lines or section lines, and then we're gonna be able to go to Maya. Do you use Blender? Yes, I use Blender. I have a course about Blender as well. Yeah, I use everything, guys. I have a little bit of an issue, which is that I'm kind of like addicted to learning new softwares. So I'll try a bunch of things. A bunch of things. How can I buy your course in Indian currency and not dollars? Unfortunately, that's not possible right now, man. The platform only allows me to publish the element in the what's the word, in dollars. So the courses are only available in dollars. If you have an issue with the platform though, and this is for everyone, if you guys are having issues paying with the platform, because I know some regions have an issue with that, just send me a message on Discord and I can send you a PayPal link. And you can pay, I think you can pay in your currency if you pay directly through PayPal, through like a link that I provide. And then I'll send you a code with like a free course, pretty much. So you pay the course through another mean. Yeah, there you go, PayPal. Yeah, I think PayPal changes your currency. Okay, so what are we gonna do here? I know what we're gonna do here. Oh, this is gonna be good. So over here, let's do a negative shape. So this one's gonna be a plate that's gonna be sort of like hidden. So we're gonna carve in a little bit. There we go. There we go. Oof, that looks good, right? That looks good. So that's sort of like a negative shape there on the face. And let's just clean the border there a little bit. And again, this is just sketching, guys. Like, we're not, this wouldn't be my clean shape or my clean anything. Ultron vibes, yeah, a little bit. It's gonna change quite a bit once we add the rivets. So the rivets always sort of like give him the Dr. Doom vibe. PayPal is banned in your country? That's a tricky situation then. I've been thinking about other ways to do it. One guy paid me through Steam one time. But I don't want to do that because then I have to buy games and I don't have time to play games. If you're in Mexico, you can contact me directly and I can... it's easier to just do it like a bank transfer. If I want to print this mask, how big have to be the printing area? Probably like 30 centimeters, like 28 centimeters or something like that. It should be like big, but you could always like split it in parts, and that's another way in which you can do it. Okay, let's start looking at some techniques here because I really like the forms that we have right now, but now I really want to play with some of the like thicknesses, right? So for instance, this piece right here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mask out this curve right here and this one right here, and you gotta clean up the mask as much as you can. I'm gonna invert the mask, and then over here in the formation we can do a little bit of inflate, not inflate balloon, just inflate to push this up a little bit, and that's gonna create a nice little sort of like change in plane. And since we're working with Dynamesh and we're working with what's the word? We're working with polish. It's gonna polish it up a little bit. It's not gonna be perfect, but it's gonna give you again a nice idea, and it's gonna push that forward, which is very, very interesting. Yeah, that's another one that I could recommend, guys. if you are, for instance, in India and you want to buy the courses, but you don't have a credit card or you don't have ways to get PayPal or whatever, ask any of our Indian students there on our Discord and just like tell them, hey, I'm gonna transfer you money in whatever method you normally use over in India. They'll pay for a course. They can buy the course through PayPal. I can send them a link and I'll send you your code. So there's always ways in which we can solve it, and I'm happy to help. But unfortunately, since we're just a very, very small project, it's difficult for me to provide all of the different payment options because they charge for fees and things like that, and then it becomes pretty much unsustainable. Okay. I prefer the beak style nose. Make it like the Iron Man mask feel. Like triangular, you mean? Like... yeah, I guess we can do that. Kind of want to get rid of the nostrils. And let's keep it really sharp. Let's see. Hey Abe, do you think real-time renderer EV next UE5 are good enough to replace heavy render engines? Yes. Yeah. Guys, have you seen like kids shows? My girl, she watches this one called Doctora Juguetes. Look at the render on this thing. It's horrible. Right? Like, and this is Disney. So it's fine. Like, if you're doing this kind of renders for this kind of shows, EV Next, Unreal, it's awesome because you render super fast, you get a really nice result, and it just works. Now, do you want to do like EV Next or Unreal for like a film? Probably not, right? Like, that one's gonna be definitely a little bit more complicated to pull off. But yeah, those renders are perfectly fine, guys. A lot of people worry too much about like the quality of things, and you guys need to remember that yes, we see AAA games and movies all the time, and that's like the quality that we always want to strive for. But in the world, there's so many products that don't get like anywhere near that quality. So not every single thing has to be in that like quality. Okay, let's see. Do we add? What do you guys think? Do we add like details like this? So like medieval carvings or something. Well, that's probably gonna be after we do the retopology, though. After we clean the shapes. But I'm pretty happy with the shapes right now. What do you guys say? Are we ready to go and clean them up in Maya? Have like clean topology and stuff? Do we have any free alphas for metal slashes? I have the orb slashes. No, there has to be some. I haven't really looked for them. There has to be some. There's always free stuff online. Medieval Doomsday. I really like this one. I think we're in a good position here. Again, I'm not sure about the opening of the mouth, because most like Dr. Doom's mask has the mouth open. I kind of don't like it, to be honest. But I do want to have a little bit of a break in plane right there. To be a character artist, do you need to know Blender or ZBrush enough? Yeah, you need to know Blender, you need to know or Maya, you need to know ZBrush, you need to know Substance, you need to know Retopology, you need to know UVs. Character artists, it's not just sculpting, guys. It's not just sculpting. Why did you clean up in the ZBrush using polygroups and Retopology? Rohan, I hate Retopology inside of ZBrush. I just hate it. I don't like Retopology in ZBrush. So if I can avoid it, and I can, because I have Maya and I have Topogon, I will avoid it. But yes, you could use polygroups and you can use Retopology inside of ZBrush as well. Again, this is going back to what we were mentioning earlier at the beginning of the stream. It really doesn't matter what tool you use. What matters is that you get to a good final result. But yeah, like I like it. Like, this is how we started. Whoop, right here, which was just the head, very basic head, And now this is the mask that we build on top, using a little bit of reference from everything. And that doesn't mean that we're finished. Like, we can still add more stuff later on. So, but I think we're in a good position to jump into Retopology. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm just gonna export this. It's at 257K, so it's not that bad. So I'm just gonna export this as let's keep things organized, because then later I have a freaking mess on my desktop. Let's go over here, 2024 assets. There we go. New. Let's call this Doom Mask. And I'm gonna use my Maya shortcut, my new button. There we go. If you're unwrapping a Retopo, are your weaknesses, would you not get the job because these two are bad, or could they? No, they will definitely. See, I don't think unwrapping and Retopo are, like, it's easier for me to teach someone how to unwrap and Retopo properly than it is for me to teach them how to sculpt anatomy properly. So if you say that your elements are, like, those are your weak points, believe me, dude, in 2 weeks you can, like, fix that. 2 weeks, no kidding. It's a very, well, not very simple, but it's a relatively easy skill to learn and use. So yeah. No, I'm gonna be seeing it today, Difam. I'm gonna be going later today to see the movie. I haven't seen it yet. Unfortunately, I've spoiled myself already because people were sharing a stupid amount of spoilers online. But yeah, I haven't seen it. Let's go projects. Okay. Oh, okay. Very common issue here. Very common issue. Everything becomes like a polygroup on itself. You can go back to ZBrush and fix it, or to be honest, in this case, just grab everything, mesh, and combine. That's another one. Thank you, Pride. Yeah, if you bought courses on Udemy, it was probably the old courses that I did for Nextut. My courses are now gonna be available through my site, or my newer courses are gonna be available through my site. So if you wanna check those out, the link is in the description, of course. Let's see. Yeah, it's not always, but it does have. Do you have a system for organizing your big projects? I feel like why they started to... Yes, it's I always use the Maya software, or the Maya project setup, and all of the stuff is on the assets folder with their own groups and stuff like that, scenes. Like I like using the Maya organization. So this one's gonna be a live surface, of course, and now we can start creating the pieces. So here's how it's gonna be, guys. It's very easy. I'm just gonna go to each specific piece, and I'm gonna create the mesh that makes up that piece. So for instance, here on the nose, it's a very simple, like, super straight plane right there. I'm gonna, of course, keep my what's the word, my topology in mind, right? But that's it. That's the nose. So we go front view. I grab all of the inside vertices, scale them down, and then we're gonna mirror this, X negative, hit apply. Perfect. Now, of course, we cannot 3D print something that's thin, so we need to give it a thickness. And since we were sculpting straight on the face, I'm gonna give them thickness, and I'm gonna go and make it thicker towards the outside. So I'm gonna extrude this, push it out, and that's it. Now, this piece, pretty much, I want everything to be like hard corner. So I'm just gonna bevel the whole thing, 2 segments and a small fraction, probably something like that. And that's it. If I press number 3, this is what we get. Like a very clean, nice, so like piece right here. There's a little bit of an issue here. This is because of the mirror. Sometimes the mirror makes a mistake right there. And I clean up the geometry. There was an N-gun. And that's it. We got the nose of the mask ready. And what we need to do now is we need to go through each specific part pretty much and do the exact same thing. So for instance, let's go for this big piece right here. So I'm going to go Quadro again. And this is where topology comes into play, because I already know how I want my topology to flow, right? Should be very obvious to everyone that I want this guys to be going in this direction. And then at this point, we have a little bit of curvature. So what do? We probably add a couple of points right there. Now, topology is one of those things that people struggle quite a bit with. And I would say one of the best advices I can give you about topology is start being more loose about it, and then fix afterwards. It's just easier. For instance, right there, see? So I know that I want a border, a clean border here on the top part of the character. So I'm gonna add the line, and I'm just gonna make it flow so that it goes into this direction right here. Same on this side. I'm probably gonna add another like vertex right there, and this one's gonna be following this direction right here. Over here we have another curvature. Whenever you have a curvature, that usually means that you're gonna have an edge loop that goes and follows that curvature. That's again another sort of like a rule of thumb. And as you can see, we have this cut line right here. So I might just try to place one edge loop straight into that corner point. There we go. For instance, here, triangle. What do we do? Well, it's easier. Just add one more line right there. That's it. It's not gonna kill your geometry. It's not gonna kill your poly count, and it's gonna allow you to have a tighter looking topology at the end of the day. Here, it's another interesting part. What do we do here? Well, if it's easier to just add one line, just add it. If you don't want to add one line, one triangle is not gonna kill you. So this is where people are gonna start like jumping on the chest, like, oh, a triangle! No, no, please, no, don't do that. Like, come on, guys. Triangles are not bad. If you know where they're gonna be, if you know how things are gonna be smoothing, triangles are perfectly fine. People freak out about them all the time. All the time. Okay, so that's it. So as you can see now, we have the piece that we're looking for. So Control E, which extrude up, right, to get a little bit of thickness. Remember, we're pushing the thickness outwards because it's the mask was sitting on top of the face. So every single piece that we're gonna be doing is gonna be pushing outwards. And now it's a matter of like cleaning this shape. So when we press number 3, we get like a very smooth result, right? So first thing is this line right here. I'm actually going to separate it. So I'm gonna grab the whole line. I'm gonna say edit mesh and detach. Now I can say mesh and separate. So now these are two separate meshes. Let's start with this piece right here. So this piece, actually, now that I think of it, because I do want to 3D print this, and that's gonna make it a little bit difficult. So we're gonna keep them together, and instead what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab this whole line right there, and I'm gonna bevel it. And if it doesn't let you bevel because of this triangle right here, what we can do is use, for instance, our cut tool and just like change the flow of the topology right there. The triangle is now on this point right here. So we go here, here, and here. There we go. Now this line, I should be able to bevel it. Oh wait, I know what it is. Sorry, my bad. It was still separated. There we go. Now I should be able to bevel it without having to change the triangle. There we go. We're gonna do a small fraction right there. And we're gonna grab that guy, Control E, and we're gonna extrude in. Always with a little bit of offset, because 90-degree angles are very difficult to 3D print. That's gonna give us the cut that we're looking for. Now, of course, if I press number 3, things are gonna look like shit. So to make this thing look better, we need to start adding specific edge loops, support edge loops. So the first one's gonna be here on the inside, and the second one's gonna be here. That's gonna keep the thickness even, which is what we want. And now remember the borders that we created at the beginning. So there's one right here, and then there's one right here. That one's gonna keep the sharpness on this curve right there. And then we're gonna have one right here, one right there, and one right there. That's the one's gonna keep the sharpness there on the bottom part. We might need one right here, and one here on the back. And all of those lines that I just added, look at how nice the surface look. Right? Really clean. Yes, clean the house. I know. See, this is where old habits just like die. And I don't think creasing will work for 3D printing. So that's why I'm avoiding it. But I know this you could do with creasing as well. So here I'm just going to add one line going in this direction. And another line. So 3 lines. And then when I do that, look at that. Now we get this very nice, clean, razor sharp like element. Now, one thing where you can start changing things here, for instance, is this vertex right here. If I press number 3, you can see that it's giving me a little bit of a weird like vibe. So I'm just gonna move it a little bit so it's a little bit straighter. And this is traditional poly modeling, guys. If you ever have taken a 3D class, you've done this before. It's just traditional poly modeling to make sure that things looks as nice as possible. And that's it. So the important thing here now is that we need to create the piece that's gonna connect these two guys right there. Right? They need to be connected. Because they need to be a solid piece. This one we can already mirror to the other side, and look at that. A very cool trick that I can show you here is assign a new material to your objects, a Maya blend material. Make it a little bit darker. But the blend material is very easy to tell whether or not your surface is clean. So if you have like any weird pinch or something, you're gonna see it here on this specific element. Now, one more thing that I want to do though before we mirror is this like thing that I added here. I'm gonna grab all of the edges and we're gonna bevel those as well with a very small fraction, so that when we do the number 3, it becomes like that. See, so even though there might be, as you can see, there's like a weird sort of like triangle thing right there, it doesn't matter, because when we press number 3, that thing like smooths perfectly fine. See, there's no pinch, there's no like surface change, nothing, and it just looks very nice, very clean. That's what we want, especially, and this is important, especially because triangles only affect when things are going to be deforming, and this mask right here is not going to deform, right? It's a solid piece all the time, so it really doesn't matter that much. Now we're gonna do this piece right here on the eye. So again, let's go to live surface. Am I boring you guys? The chat suddenly went quiet, or is just this like like interesting news that you haven't heard before? The chat definitely went quiet, or maybe I just went full on teacher mode there. So we're gonna add this guy right here. There we go. Nice, nice. We're gonna go right here. There we go. As you can see, again, we're following this curvature right here. And here's the important part. I'm gonna try to match this as close as possible to the border that we have here on this other plate. There we go. And we're just gonna go over here, 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 and here. You're vibing. That's awesome. Yeah, just making sure that we're still online. Imagine if, like, it has happened to me when I'm recording like a premium course or a video that I'm just like in the zone explaining everything, and then I check OBS and it's not recording. It's like, fuck. Am I gonna merge? Yes, because we're gonna 3D print, so everything has to be merged. So there we go. So this is a simple piece. There we go. It's a nice piece because it's sort of like roundish, right? So let's grab all of these guys and isolate them so that we can see how they work together. Control E, and we're gonna extrude this out. And again, here's where we might wanna like do specific things. For instance, all of these elements, I want them to be on the same plane. So I can press R and change this to component mode and snap them so they're completely flat to each other. This is a very cool trick. I'm gonna repeat it because people what's the word? People don't know about this trick a lot. When you are scaling something, like all of these planes right here, I want them to be on the same plane. If I press R, by default, it's gonna be in world mode, and if I try to like scale them, it's not gonna work. But if I change this to component mode, it's gonna look for the normal of the faces. Look at that. And when I scale this down, it's gonna flatten all of them up to a single plane. So all of them are in the same plane now, and that's a lot easier to like properly place, for instance, right here near the nose element, right? So that's very, very, very important. Now here, I am gonna push some of this vertex, because since at the end we're gonna merge everything together, I do wanna have a little bit of overlap, that everything sort of like booleans into a single mesh later on. And it's a matter of deciding how much depth I want on each of these things. So right around there. There we go. I do want a little bit of curvature. Let's start adding some support edges. So there's gonna be one there and one there. There's definitely gonna be one there. One right there. One right there. And one down here. And that's it. Look at that. Right? Now here on the inside, again, this is important. This is only because of 3D printing. If this was for a character, this is fine. Like, I don't need to do anything else. But for 3D printing, I cannot leave this empty spaces right there. It's gonna be a huge pain later on. So it's better to just like push some of these guys in and make sure that when they touch the plate in smooth mode, they're actually overlapping a little bit. Again, this is only for 3D print. And same thing here. Like, if I want to be super precise, this is a good point here to start moving some of these points so that all of the elements like connect very nicely with each other. Does that make sense? Yes, exactly. Busby, this is just a preview, so later on, especially again before 3D printing, I'm gonna have to do this smooth into a permanent mesh so that all of those polygons are like actual meshes. So this goes there. My mouse died last week, and I had to get a new one. And I wanted to get the same one that I had before, but it was very expensive, so I got a different brand this time, and it's awesome. Got this Corsair. This is not sponsored or anything. I hope they could sponsor me. But this is a Corsair mouse with like the extra buttons on the thumb. Very cool. Okay, let's go right there. Again, as long as it's very close there on the surface, that's good. The surface you want to change the orientation. Yeah, you can also do that, Rohan. That's right. Why are you not creating this mask in Retopo? You can create the mask there. I can retopo easily, but I cannot extrude and create the sort of like the depth. So that's why I'm not doing it in Topogon. Here I'm gonna keep this way straighter. Again, following the sort of like line that we have right here. And this is where sometimes it's difficult for me to showcase the whole process in a YouTube video, because it takes time. Like all of this like little like changes and little adjustments, it definitely takes time. And we're so used to content being like snappy and fast and things like that. So I like doing these streams because it allows me to work at a more normal traditional speed. There we go. Again, I'm gonna assign the blend material to check for any weird like pinches or anything. I don't see any, so as you can see, it looks like a very smooth surface. I really like this, even though it's a small sort of like division. I really like this like small change in planes right there. So if we mirror this, we're gonna have these two sections right there. You see a lot of people struggling. Yeah, Retopo. Yeah, it can be tricky. I like Retopo because for me it's kind of like a puzzle. But I can understand why it can be a little bit complicated. But if you're struggling, I got the Retopo course there, where I cover all that stuff. Sorry for the commercial, but that's exactly why I made that Retopo course, because people were always asking me, it's like, oh, I don't know how to Retopo things properly. It's like, well, there's the course. It's like, what, I think it's like a 10-hour course or like 5-hour course. There's like 4 or 5 different exercises. So there's quite enough information for you to learn, everyone to learn. Okay, so that's a simple piece. I'm just gonna grab these 2 pieces so that we can check again the fit. Yeah, it's time consuming, but it's fun, and I think it's actually very important. Like that's one of the things that I do evaluate quite heavily in my students' work, because people have been getting quite lazy in the past couple of years. They're depending too much on tools such as Nanite and C-Remesher and things like that to do stuff. And yes, you can get away with that thing for a lot of things. Like, I'm not saying they're bad elements or bad tools, but it's good you know the fundamentals, because I've had situations, even here in the studio, where I ask people to do Retopo for characters, and they fuck it up so badly. It's like, dude, what the fuck? Like, you're supposed to be a pro artist. Like, this should be easy peasy for you right now, and for some reason they struggle quite a bit. I don't love that sharp corner. Just looks a little bit weird. I need to add another support edge. Yeah, that's better. It's a little bit wobbly. Can you see the wobbliness there, guys? Like, this is the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. Like, you should always be very mindful of that sort of wobbliness, and that's why the blend material is so good, because you're gonna immediately see whether or not there's that sort of stuff. Are you ever going to finish the medieval lighthouse tutorial you started? No, that one's dead, man. I'm sorry. But I promise the next Unreal course, which is the environment course, is going to be very, very cool. And it's going to cover a lot of the same techniques that I was showing there. No, I'm no longer with Nexted, man. One doubt, like I want to start creating Wolverine full character. Where should I start? Should I do first? No, I would just start with... you can follow the anatomy course process, which is we start with like a C-sphere. It's not here anymore. We start with a C-sphere, and then we do all of the anatomy. Sort of like this, and then once we finish the whole anatomy, we pose the character, and then we do the statue. It's up there. I'm not gonna get it down right now, but we get the whole 3D print. Do you have a course that's specifically for tips and tricks about 3D printing text? Yes, Aliana Don. I do have it one. It's the what's the word? It's the newest one. So this one. So this one is, I would say, 70 or 65% anatomy, where we do this character here, Duncan. And then the last chapter, as you can see right here, we got the 3D printing preparation, which is all about how to scale the character, add the supports, place the keys, all that stuff. And then the post-processing, which is a little bit of the cleanup process that I use for like the final statue. And the course for Unreal is the next one, Praveen. It's gonna be coming up hopefully this month. I'm working on it so that it comes out this month. Okay, let's do the eyes now. Oh, this is gonna be a fun one. So for the eyes, see, for instance, here, this one right here, I can immediately tell that I want this thing to be a little bit closer to the center, so I have more curvature on the eyes. There we go. I want to have a line that goes straight right there. So we're gonna start right here. This is gonna be the upper eyelid. That. And probably, I'm wondering if we need to create the inside of this eyelid. I think we do need to do it. So see that? Thanks to the sketch that we have from ZBrush, this should be fairly easy to do. It's a very simple shape. I'm gonna grab all of these pieces because they all sort of like play together. There we go. And then we extrude out. Okay, I'm trying to find like sort of like the same thickness. And we can start adding some of the support edges. Uh-oh, Maya is already freaking out. Okay, so at this point it's a good point to save, and then open it up again. I don't know. I've always find with this Retopo thing, Maya starts freaking out every now and then. So Doom mask. Let's call this Doom Retopo. Perfect. And let's close. And let's open it up again. I will look in yeah, anatomy is it's super fun. It's one of my favorite topics to teach because it's like a foundational skill for any character artist, and it's one of those things that you can get really cool results like this one right here. So this was a very fun project, and we go over every single part of the body: arms, hands, feet, legs, torso, back, everything. Oh, that's a good question, man. I wish I had an answer, but I don't know Houdini. I was actually talking to one of my friends yesterday on Instagram, because he has been using Houdini for a long time now. And I told him, hey, how steep is the learning curve? And he's like, you know your software, so you should be fine. So I might start learning a little bit of it, but I'm not like well trained to offer any kind of like course or anything. I'm not sure. Clean the house. Yes, I mean, see, I one thing that I've been very honest with myself about this project is that I always try to do the things that I like, that I feel comfortable with, that I think are going to be useful and helpful. So I don't see myself doing silly dances or silly things, or like, I know there was this like 1 second trend a couple of weeks ago in Instagram. I don't know, man. It feels like cheap tricks, and I know you can get a lot of follows or a lot of likes, but most of those people, they just like the content and they don't follow you later. So it's not like quality audience like you guys are right now. Like, you guys are here because you really want to learn about 3D. That's what I mean. So it's one of those things that I'm not sure I want to do a lot of, because it can be a little bit difficult to get away from that. Andy, I mean, I wouldn't say it's like impossible to do or super difficult. At the end of the day, as with everything, you gotta try it, right? Like, if you've never done it before, then yeah, the first one that you do is definitely gonna be on the tricky side of things. But the more you do it, the easier the process is gonna be. And this technique that I'm showing you right now, which is do a sculpt, like an organic sculpt in ZBrush, and then clean it up here inside of Maya, it's a very, very valid. It's a very valid technique, and it's gonna give you a very like nice and clean result. Look at that. This is the upper eyelid right there, and as you can see, it looks quite nice, right? And I see a little bit of bumpiness in certain areas. It's just a matter of moving some of these guys to clean their curvature up. Like that. And again, remember that one of the important things is that we definitely want to have some of these parts kind of like touching each other, because when we do the 3D print, we don't want to have any sort of like floating bits or anything. Rehan, the Topology course was released like 3 months ago or 4 months ago. It's been available for a long time now. It's on the site, man. You can check it out. Okay, let's do this outer eyelid first. It's kind of like the eye back. And then we'll do this inner eyelid as well. I'm gonna try to connect there. I'm a little bit curious about what we're gonna do there on that line right there. I think I'm gonna add an extra piece right there, like small detail, because I don't want to have like this long piece going all the way there. Can you share the page where we can find the tutorial courses? Yes, of course, Pablo. David, I'm not sure if you're there on the chat. If you could share them, it's just aveleal3d.com. Let me see. There we go. Hopefully that works. There we go. So that's my side, guys. Okay, let's extrude this. There we go. Perfect. That's beautiful. Okay. So let's grab, now we need to grab all of the pieces, because the sharpness of this piece right here will depend on all of the other ones. Ah, come on, Maya. There you go. One there, one there, one there, one there, and one there. Perfect. Oh, nice. Thanks for that feedback, man. Yeah, it was a tough decision to do our own site, but I think at the end it was the right decision. It gives me way more control over like giveaways, coupons, the students, everything. So it's just easier for us. So here, as you can see, what I'm just gonna do is I'm just gonna start like pushing this thing so that we generate a little bit of a change in planes there. Very important. See that? Oh, that's a big one, guys. Those holes right there will kill your 3D prints. Can be very, very like damaging. So even though I'm pushing this like very, very intensely here in smooth mode, it's very important that we do it so that we don't get any sort of like weird overlap. So all of those sort of like negative spaces, you really want to push things because they create pockets of air. And both in filament and in resin, those pockets can be very, very problematic. Oh, that's a great question, Maggot. That's a weird name, man. Maggot might fly. This is from my topology course. If you want to have like a super straight, like completely 90-degree corner, insert edge loop is the best one, because it's gonna give you a super clean effect. If you want to have a round corner, bevel is better because it's gonna soften the corners. So yeah. Power of Pixel, thanks, man, thank you. I'm not the best, but I strive to, as our motto says, to always learn and always improve. There we go. So all of this, I'm gonna start pushing again so they get closer to the border. This is again something that I wouldn't do if this was just like a character's mask for like a game or something. I'm only doing this for 3D printing. Or rather, the reason why I'm doing this is for 3D printing. Because it's a very, like, this is stressing the geometry way too much. But I need this overlap. Especially here on the back. Otherwise, again, as I was mentioning, we're going to create all of these pockets of air. And it becomes a little bit more complicated to 3D print. Same for this, or like overlaps right there. I'm going to see if I can like minimize them a little bit. I'd rather have like an extra lip here on the inside. Because the inside you're not gonna see, right? So the most important part is the outside. But those, again, those connections are gonna be important. Sometimes I think junior artists like me waste time thinking to create. Yeah, that's one of the worst mistakes, and actually, see, that's one of the things that I'm very proud of, which is the fact that since I've been teaching this stuff for a long time, I know what things people struggle with the most, and I know that's one of them. Like making one object out of, like, one very complex object out of the same mesh, and that's not how it works. So literally, when I'm teaching like in universities, the second class is a class that I called complex or simple to complex, and it's that I show them how to combine multiple simple objects into a complex object so that they can like generate something that looks better. And it's all about that. It's all about like making them realize that not every single object has to be made out of a single like cube or whatever. So for games, a little bit of gaps are okay. Yeah, a little bit of gaps wouldn't be a problem or anything. For games is fine. Like even here later on, we can use like very basic cubes to just like can sort of like combine that, right? If I don't want to stress this geometry too much, I can just add like a cube to fill in that area, or even in ZBrush just like sculpt something there real quick. But yeah, let's go. I still don't like the wobbliness. You can see that this eye is giving me a little bit of a wobbliness effect, especially here on this sort of like border. So that's something that we need to address. That's much better. There we go. Look at that. Here, this one. Mask is looking tight. Let's see. Ko says, I wanted to ask you something. Been learning 3D for a year and making creatures for modding. especially Total War Warhammer style, to orient my portfolio to that company. Is that a good idea? Yes, it's a good idea. But yeah. You love this wireframe right here? Yeah, that's clean topology. I'm not super fond of this triangle right there. Feels a little bit weird. It doesn't look weird from a smoothing perspective, but it does feel a little bit weird. If I wanted to change it, we can clean it up later. So yeah. But yeah, man, Cole, it's good. It's good to do that. However, again, as I've mentioned before, it's also a good idea to try to like have a wider range, because if they're not hiring and that's the only thing you know how to do, well, then you're gonna be out of luck, right? So you gotta sort of like whenever you're setting a specific studio as your goal, you gotta understand that you're sort of like risking everything, right? Because again, if the studio is not hiring, or if there's no options at that moment, then you're out of luck. So it depends on how you wanna play it. Krishna, I don't use the USD file format too much, to be honest, because that's a more sort of like heavy pipeline thing. So if you're working on really big projects, really big scenes, you will be using something like that. Again, I don't use that too much, and it's not because it's a bad format or anything. It just requires a little bit more setup and a little bit more organization. So for simple things like just this mask right here, it's not something that I'm gonna be using as much. That makes sense. Okay, this one's gonna be a tricky one. The reason why this one's gonna be tricky is because we want to have this. We're gonna push this. Actually, let me center the pivot point. I'm gonna push it in a little bit because I want this to be beneath or behind this one, but also kind of like on top of this other one. There we go. Let's try adding the supports. Go. Yeah, that's sort of like the effect that I'm going for. Now we need to get this inside of the lower eye back. There we go. That's how we get that little sort of like gap right there. Perfect. Sad. Okay, and this one goes here. Again, this one goes. Ugh, this is a tricky one. I think it's better if we just move this corner in instead. Like that. Yeah, it looks a little bit better. There we go. Let's see. It's hard to find a job in the industry because of it. Yes. And guys, like I've been talking to a lot of my friends lately. And I don't want to be you guys know I tend to be very positive and tend to be very like upbeat and everything, but we cannot deny that right now the industry is one of the worst situations. Have you ever done other collabs? Not recently, but I mean, we've gotten sponsored and stuff like from Elegoo, and we got sponsored from Huion as well earlier this year. We're in talks with a couple of other people out there in the industry that want to do some collaborations. We haven't done any with other YouTubers yet, but that's definitely something that we're looking for. So if you have other favorite YouTubers, let them know about us as well. Yeah, Topogun. Yeah, we also did the Topogun collab. Okay, I'm just worried about that, like, yeah, see that vertex right there? It's like really, really stressed. Those vertex. Let's relax them a little bit there. There we go. Good. Nice. So that's it. As you can see, that one will leave us, or will give us the sort of like eye opening. Let me get this into a layer. So technically, I'm not sure if this is gonna fit me or what, but technically that should give me a good eye opening. One more thing we can do later is we could just hide that one right there. If I see that the opening is too small or too big, we can definitely do that. What's Topogun? Topogun is a specific software that helps us with retopology, which is similar to what we're doing right now, is the process of cleaning up a mesh that has been done. Paulo FX says 80% of the artists in Canada are unemployed right now. Yeah. No, yesterday we saw, or I was seeing someone, David shared to me, a very famous, oh, well, you guys know her, Terry Whitlatch. She's like this very, very famous creature creator. She's looking for a job. It's like, what? Like, what are the day Rafael Grassetti and all of those guys are looking for a job, that's the day you know the industry's done for. But that doesn't mean that what we're doing is not important. What I mean by this is the big studios are in shambles, but there's a lot of smaller studios that are actually like thriving. Like I would say the indie scene is definitely on a good run right now, because I've seen a lot of really, really good projects. It's just that people are realizing that it's not as easy as it was before to fund big projects. I was mentioning this on the last live stream. Remember this game Concord, right? It came up. I think it's on early beta right now or something, and it just like bombed, and it's millions and millions of dollars invested on a game that just bombs. So yes, what we do is expensive from a marketing perspective, but also, and we cannot deny this, a lot of the studio heads, right, like the board members, they're making bad decisions. Like they're not really listening to what we as gamers want. If they started listening, they made microtransactions more like not as intense and things like that, you will still have games that are like really well received. So it's also a matter of capitalism adjusting itself. I have seen Coco School, Maggot McFly. I've seen some of the stuff. I do think it's a little bit on the pricey side of things. Okay, so, but I have not worked with them or anything. I mean, if you can afford it, it's definitely it's probably gonna give you some nice connections and things like that. Again, I don't really have like an educated opinion about them because I don't know them. There's a school, I'm not gonna say what school it is here in Mexico. They contacted me once through ArtStation, and I thought they wanted me to teach with them or to do like something to like collaborate. And then we were talking like, oh yeah, we love your stuff and things like that. And then after like once we were gonna like, once I asked them, okay, so what do you need? Do you need me to teach a class? It's like, oh no, we actually wanted to see if you wanted to enroll in one of our classes. And it's like, dude, like, didn't you do your research? This was like 5 years after I started teaching, so this was like in 2021, like 2 or 3 years ago. And probably the person doing like the scouting didn't really check that I taught like all of those things that they wanted me to take a class of. Like I think they wanted to enroll me in like in a ZBrush class or something like that. It's like, oh no, dude, like I'm happy to collaborate and work with you, but but I think you missed your mark here. I'm not like I'm already a professional artist, so thank you. That doesn't mean that I don't study. I still study. I still enroll in some classes when I need to, or take some tutorials when I need to. But it was just like a very weird approach from them. There we go. That's gonna be like a little piece there just to fit and fill in that gap, and it just gives us a nice little like changing slide as well. Let's see. Exactly, Kurt. Exactly. And that's what big studios need to understand. The problem, and this is again my opinion, I think the problem that happened is big people with money started saying that, hey, someone created a game like Among Us, right, or like Fallout, and they got like a return of investment of like 1000%. That's not something that you're gonna get easily with stocks or anything like that. So they saw games as a way to get like a fast, easy money, when that's not the way it goes. Like, I'm not saying that there aren't games like Fall Guys or Among Us or all of these indie games that suddenly became huge hits, but that's not the norm. Like, normally you spend a bunch of time, like 2, 3, 4 years developing a good game like Baldur's Gate, and then you do make your return on investment because it was a good game. Nintendo is also another great example of that thing, right? Like, they do invest the money, but they are patient about how they deliver that. And a lot of these big studio guys are not patient, and that's the problem. They want the fast return of investment, and well, that's exactly like that. That's just not the way the industry works. Same for movies, like, and I think like I love Marvel, you guys know that, but I think that has been their mistake in the past couple of years. They saw that they were making money, like bank, with all of this like sagas and crossovers and things like that, but they stopped thinking about like what made them special. And for instance, the like Endgame and Infinity War, one of the things that made it special is it was a 10-year build-up until that point. So you were getting hyped and hyped and hyped, and then boom, you get like the big resolution. That's not something that you can create in like 2 years, right? Like 3 years. So yeah, that's a. We cannot deny that things have gotten expensive or more expensive as well, but yeah. Yeah, exactly, Kurt. And there's no other way around it. Okay, let's go with one. This is a big piece. So this is gonna be the what's the word? The eyebrow. Let's say real quick here, before anything bad happens. Let's go. I'm not a fan of turn-based games, but I fell in love with Baldur's Gate. Yeah, I see. I'm a huge fan of D&D. I'm a huge fan of 3D and everything. And due to the fact that that my little kid is very impatient, I cannot play Baldur's Gate because I don't have the time to just sit and play for like 2 or 3 hours straight. So I've been playing games that are a lot more sort of like fast-paced or that don't require as much attention. That's part of growing up as well. But yeah, Baldur's Gate is an amazing game. Like if I've ever had to like apply for another studio, Baldur's like a Larian studio would be an amazing place to work on. I would probably need to move to Europe though. I'll see most of you guys then. It will be easier to meet you guys. But yeah. How do you talk about the like we've been talking about it, man, Landon, and it's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate that a lot of talented people are getting laid off, and there's 2 Larians, I think, aren't they? I thought one of them was in Europe. And one of the unfortunate things is that artists are suffering because of the bad decisions of the producers and the big studio heads, right? Not everywhere. Like I know there might be some like I don't know lazy artists out there. Like I'm not saying we're like angels and free of guilt. Like there's always things, right? But unfortunately, the industry is in a critical position right now. Now, one thing I've heard, and this is from people who have more experience than me, that have been in the industry, not only the games industry, but like the FBX industry for a longer time, they say that this is relatively common, like it's cyclical. So there's always ups and downs. They do mention that this has been one of the worst downs that they've seen, but that doesn't mean that things are not gonna get better. And one of the best things that you can do is be prepared for when things get better. If you keep up, then, well, that's it. That's GG. Right? So you might want to... Like, yeah, like, as an artist, you always want to try and be ready for the next thing. And I've mentioned this before. Like, if you're in this industry for the money, you're in the wrong industry. There is money. There is money to be made, and you can have a good living and everything. But this is not an industry to be in to get rich. This is tricky. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do there. I don't want to add another edge because it's gonna kill the flow. I think we're gonna have to add an extra little piece there as well because I really like this one. I just want to clean it up a little bit. Again, here what I mean by cleaning it up is I'm just like making sure that the angles are a little bit sharper, like cleaner. So I want the lines to be following this thing. Let's see. Every time I buy a game, it's either badly written with good graphics or it's $20 skin with 14-day online players. Yeah, and again, like this is where I think Nintendo has been doing an amazing job with a lot of their games, because they do take the time to make sure that they're just good games. I was playing Super Mario RPG, which I know it's a remake. But I was looking at the 3D, and the 3D is super basic. Like, I know most of you guys could do this 3D, so you don't need to have like the most freaking amazing graphics to have a good game. We were playing Mario Party the other day. It was all Mario Tennis, and And that's the thing, like games are not only about like having an amazingly written story and amazingly graphics. It's more about the experience itself. Is it a good, fun experience? Do people enjoy your game? And if they do, then that's a successful game. Yeah. Now, I have seen, though, Pablo, and this is interesting, I have seen that other industries, other careers are also suffering from similar things. I have several friends of mine that are doctors, medics, and the healthcare industry is like another complete mess. And I think that that's a way more honorable career than what we do. Like, we're just in the computer doing cool shit. They're actually saving lives, right? And I've seen like horror stories from medics that are like suffering because the pays are very low, the hours are very long. It's also a mess. So it's like we're living in very, very interesting times. I don't want to get too philosophical, but it's no, dude, the education industry is, dude, do you know, I'm gonna confess something to you guys. There was one university that I worked for a couple of years ago. You guys want to know how much they paid me per hour of teaching? Per hour, $2. $2 per hour of teaching. That was the base rate for a teacher. And I was teaching them like this sort of thing, like advanced stuff, right? 2 hours per hour. Yeah, this was back in like 2018, 2019. I think now they're paying like $4. But yeah, no, the education, like, I'm not rich, guys. I love this because I love teaching, but it's not like something that's gonna, again, like, yeah, it's a different type of job. And again, I don't blame them because they cannot charge students like stratospherical amounts of money. It's just like a weird thing. Yeah. I'm not gonna say the university. I'm not gonna burn them. The only thing that I liked about that, and that's again, that's one of the decisions that you guys are gonna have to. Yes, it was here in Mexico. It was here in Mexico. One of the things that happens, or that you need to understand, is as an artist and as a professional in any field, you will have opportunities like those where you say, hey, the pay is horrible, but if I can handle it, I might get like something out of it. And thanks to that, like, this is like, again, like the sort of like chain of events that happens. Thanks to that job that I took at the university, I met someone that then connected me to my current partner in business, and we've been like doing very, very cool things thanks to that, like a partnership. So that's where you make the things like, hey, well, yeah, that was a horrible, shitty job because the pay was horrible, but thanks to that, I got to meet who today is my main partner in business and allows me to create awesome things. So it's one of those things that you sort of like put in a balance, and like, okay, I will sacrifice pay and I will get connections, I will get experience, I will get like your name's gonna be like you're gonna have more credibility, things like that. Exactly. So you change one thing for others. Not everyone has the ability to balance or change those things, but it's important that you understand that sometimes you will have to go or do projects that are not going to be super well paid, but you will get, again, connections out of them. Go. Oof, that's a beautiful curve right there. Gustavo Quertz, I'm a UA5 dev and I get Gen 3D. You get less than $2 per hour. Oh, dude, what country are you on? Because that's definitely a little bit on the low side. Like, even here in Mexico, right now, the base rate, like the base salary, minimum wage, it's at, well, actually, it's kind of like at $3 per hour. But let me do. So the absolutely base rate here in Mexico is like 280 pesos per day. You divide that in 8, that's 35 pesos per hour. Yeah, so that's actually $2 per hour here in Mexico as well. But that's like super base rate. Like, this is the stuff that you get from working minimum job wages, which again are perfectly fine if you need to do it. Like, I don't like, every job should be earning a livable wage. That has always been my opinion. But if you're a 3D, that means that you should be specialized. Like here in Mexico, I've seen like the lowest starting wage that I've seen in Mexico is like 10,000 pesos per month, which if we divide this into dollars, it's about $555 per month, which if we divide in weeks and then in hours, weeks, 138, and then days, and then hours. So yeah, that will be in Mexico. This is like the base, like super low base for a 3D artist. Just like fresh out of school, like a junior position or like an internship. That might be it. Yeah, we got Mexican pesos as well. There we go. Okay, quick question, guys. Should we add an edge loop here? Like, do you like that hard corner on that eyebrow, or should we keep it smooth? Let me show you both versions. Let's see this one right here. So let's add the lid material. So this is smooth version and this is hard surface version. Which one you like more? Hard look, smooth. Oh, it's very kind of like 50-50. Hard surface, smooth. Smooth looks angrier? Or which one looks angrier? Yeah, Ron. America should be around 30,000 like yearly. Like when I came out of school, my first job was $22 an hour. That was my first job in the US. Well, I was not in the US anymore. I was in Mexico, but I was working for a US company, and it was $22 an hour. And our teachers told us that that's like 20 to 25, 28. This was back in 2016, by the way. So that was sort of like the expected effect. Okay, let's try this instead, guys. What if, because I do like the smooth version as well, but what if we add a secondary line right there? So an extra one right there. I think that one looks interesting. The rates haven't improved. Are they in a similar level, Pablo, for like an entry level stuff? Yeah, I kind of like this one a little bit more as well. Okay, now we just need to clean some of these corners up. VFX Junior would be 20 to 25. Yeah, that's about it. Yeah, unfortunately, see that like the rate is not that bad, but the cost of living is really high. That's when things get into an issue. Only focusing. Oh, dude, ads and branding. Like, there's so much money to be made in commercial stuff like that. And that's what I tell you guys all the time. Like, don't just look at the stuff that we do in 3D for games and movies and cinematics and things like that. There's so much money to be made in other like parts of the 3D world. And ads and marketing is really, really good. There's some really good production houses that do a lot of ads, and they make like good money. Ours are not as intense. Projects are faster. You need to finish a project in like 1 month, 2 months, 2 weeks. Like it definitely is a little bit faster, but there's a lot of work there for marketing and stuff. It's not the same thing. Like, you're not going to be doing Master Chief and Kratos. You're going to be doing, I don't know, like a Rolex watch and some Pepsi cans and things like that. But still, like, very, very, like, fun work to do. I've done several of that. I did a commercial a couple of years ago, but unfortunately it didn't, like, something happened to the project and it wasn't finished. Or it was finished, but it never aired. It was for some, like, car batteries, and it was really good. My first job, like the first studio that I worked for, we were doing, there's a very famous like battery brand for cars called Goner here in Mexico. And I was doing like things like this. Like my modeling things is like Model 1 oil thing, Model 1 oil filter, and do some renders about it. And that was our like day-to-day job for like 2 or 3 months. So there's a lot of stuff like that. But you gotta be willing to do that stuff, right? Like, you gotta be willing to be like, okay, I'll do characters and like fun things as an indie project, as a side project, and to pay my bills and do that stuff. I'm gonna be doing more of this, or like what's the word? More of this sort of advertising things. Yes, as Ron is saying, ArtStation, Indeed, LinkedIn, Google. That's where connections are also really good. Because you can be like, hey guys, I need work. Anyone's hiring? And that could be a good way to get a lead. Rates in Canada, modeling 18 to 20, animation 16 to 18. Oh, per hour? Oh, that's, oh wow. Well, I mean, as a beginning artist, maybe, but that's definitely a little bit on the low side, especially for Canada, which is very pricey. Currently, we can make a simple 3D ad in 2 weeks with our current job. Is that... Yeah, that's good speed, man. That's good speed. How do studios keep track of working hours when working on a studio? How many hours you actually work? That's... See, that, my friend, is one of the big issues of not only our industry, but every single industry in the world right now. That it's very difficult to be certain of how much time people are spending working on a project. How much time do people actually waste on Facebook or TikTok or whatever? Like, that happens all the time, and it happens on the best studios, right? So there are ways. Like, I remember I worked in a place where they would actually count how many clicks you were doing per day, and they could see what software was or what window was active on your computer at all times. And it was horrible. It felt like being on a prison or something, because they were checking every single thing for of your movements. But that's like, those are tools that can be used to measure that sort of thing. I'm not saying those are good tools. I'm just saying that they are tools that can be used. And that's one big thing about like people who are in pro of remote working. Like, why do you want to spend, like, I don't know, 1 hour taking public transportation or driving to your work when you could be using that to be on your computer on your house and just finishing whatever project it is? And that's, again, a lot of the manager type things, like the people on the upper corners or upper levels of management, and the people who have the money, pretty much. Like, they are the guys who get to decide how they want to work, right? So the best thing we can do is just be vocal about it. Be like, hey, I am more efficient if I can do this or that. And you might be able to find a good studio that matches with that perspective of yours and allows you to do remote work, for instance. I don't remember. Anyone remembers the name? We talked about this last stream. There's a site that gives you leads to indie studios that are hiring. If anyone remembers the name, please share it on the chats. I'm not sure as there are some tax changes, like the government has increased taxes. This is necessary for a middle-class person. Yeah, most of the artists that I know, including myself, we have our sort of like a day job, and then we have things like freelance stuff, right? Or other ventures. Another thing that's a reality, and this is something that, for instance, my wife and I have, we both work. So just like, it would be very difficult for me to sustain my family and all the expenses by just having a single income. So eventually, for those of you that get married, that definitely helps. Cannot deny, it definitely helps. There we go. I'm gonna delete this line so we have a straighter glabella right there. I'm definitely gonna push this in a little bit so we see the corners of the mask. There we go. Yeah, that's nice. I like it. Set the bleed material. Look at that, guys. Not freaking bad. I'm not sure I like that one. Maybe I want this to be rounder instead of... Yeah, I think rounder looks better. Yeah, I don't remember. It was indie games hiring. What was it? There we go. Work with indies. So there's this site that we saw last stream, Work with Indies, and they have a lot of things for indie stuff. So projects might be smaller in scope, but that doesn't mean that the pay is bad, okay? So if you guys are looking for stuff, a lot of them are remote, like NYC or remote, anywhere. So you can be there. Yeah, that's it, Nerdinator. Definitely it. There you go. Thank you, Krishna. Yeah, work with indies. RB Gaming, all good, man. All good over here. Okay, let's fix, as I mentioned before, we cannot have those empty holes. So I'm gonna push this thing so we can create the overlap. And all of those little holes, we might need to use something to cover them up. I think here we can definitely use the nose. It's relatively easy to just extrude this. And again, I don't care about all of the overlap here on the inside. We can later on, like if I'm gonna be wearing this mask, we can what's the word? We can use things like padding or something to make sure it's not horrible. There we go. Important part is the outside. No, masks, what you do with masks is you print them thin. You don't add holes. You just print them thin. Because if you hollow a mask, it just becomes very, very weak. It just like cracks very easily. And resin, I don't like printing masks with resin, to be honest. It's very expensive because it's a lot of resin that you're gonna be using for the mask, and it's very frail. Again, I've seen some like samurai masks that they print, but it's just weird. I prefer filament for this kind of processes. Let's add the blend material to everything. There we go. Oh, that looks sick. Look at that. And clean topology as well. Look at that. Nice, nice. This is what I expect to see. When I see a wireframe, this is what I want to see, guys, in your portfolio. Like clean flow, clean topology, just clean modeling all around. Okay, let's go with the next piece. Let's do this big piece right here. I think that's gonna be an important one. RB says, I'm working with a client for 3D printable figures. Up to now, no need to make faces with exact likeness, but now he needs those faces as the reference image, but he's not willing to increase pay scale. Oh, that's a great... here I can give you a great tip, man. One of the worst mistakes that people make when negotiating is that they immediately like shut down an option and they're like, no, that cannot be done. Sorry, that's it. Our contract is done, right? And I always like to try to find the win-win situation, right? So let's say he is like, hey, I need you to do 5 likenesses for 3D printing figurines. And you're like, okay, cool, sure. But the rate was, whatever, 50 for a face. If it's a likeness, I'm going to have to charge you not 50, but let's say 100. He's like, oh, no, I cannot pay that. Or like, instead of saying, okay, then we're not going to work, what you can say is, okay, let's do this. What if instead of doing, let's say, 5 faces, I just do 3 faces, 3 likenesses, which is going to be very similar. You're still losing a little bit of money there, but you offer to downscale, okay? So you adapt to the budget, because he was willing to pay $50 for 5 faces, so that's $250. So you can go and what's the word? You can go and adapt that sort of like budget and offer what they're looking for, which in this case is a likeness, but without them having to, without you doing extra work and without them like ruining their budget. That's one way, and that's one way in which you can negotiate that kind of stuff with clients. So don't sort of like it's trying to find a way not to break their dream or to work with them, but also be fair to you. So it's like, hey, I can do likenesses, but I'm not gonna be able to do as many as you want. And if they're like, no, we want to have 5 likenesses, then at that point, yeah, the job is pretty much done. Like, you're not gonna be able to find a common ground, right? So it's part of negotiation there. Now, I'm going to give you another example. I've had clients come to me, or not even clients, like some students are like, hey, I want a mentorship. It's like, sure, this is the price. They're like, oh, that's a little bit expensive. It's like, hey, okay, I understand. What about this? Instead of giving you the full hour of mentorship, we could go half and we'll just do 30 minutes. Just make sure you have your questions prepared so that when we have our session, we can go straight into the point. And And they're like, oh, okay, yeah, I can do that. And we work it out. Again, I'm one of those guys that always like to find a win-win scenario for everyone. I feel that gets you farther in life than trying to screw everyone over. Even though people have screwed me over before. That's a tale for another time. Okay, let's try. I'm not sure about this corner. I'm gonna... There we go. Because this is the border. Exactly, Nerdinator. That's exactly right. Like, you might sacrifice $50, but then if the heads or if the product that he's going for sells well, he's gonna look. He's gonna go back for you, right? He's gonna hire you again. How much is it gonna cost for this mask to print? It's probably gonna be one spool of filament, so about $25 maybe from material cost. If you want a session, Anurag, just send me a message on Discord, and I can send you the information, and then we can schedule it out. I don't have a lot of slots right now, though. £4,000 for a mentorship? Who's this guy, Mr. Beast or what? Damn, that's. I don't think I would ever charge something like that, man. $4,000. Okay, so we're ready. Let's grab these pieces and this one. And now we're gonna extrude. Extrude up. I'm actually gonna grab because it's fine. I'm a little bit concerned about certain elements here, but let's start adding some of the supports and let's see how they smooth. So, oh no, Maya, are you failing again? No, you're fine. Let's save. How much should someone charge for creating a 3D model like this mask? How much would you charge for it? That's a good question. So I always mention that it's important that you understand who this product is going to be for, right? So if someone, a friend of mine, is like, hey, I want to go to Comic-Con and I want to wear a Dr. Doom mask, could you create one for me? Or even just like a student or whatever. Like if someone comes and says, hey, I want to what's the word? I want to have this Dr. Doom mask for a Comic-Con event, but it's just gonna be me. I'm the only one who's gonna be wearing it. It's like a single mask. I might charge, I don't know. I'm just gonna give a random number here. Don't quote me on this. But let's say $200 for the 3D work, and then another $100 for the 3D printing, and then the shipment. So maybe at the end of the day, I might be charging $500 for like a unique piece, right? But if Disney comes and says like, hey, could you design a Dr. Doom mask that we're gonna be using to sell toys for? That's not gonna be $500. It's gonna be way more than that, right? Because it's gonna require more. They're gonna be profiting way more of it. So the type of client, how much time it's gonna take me, whether I want to do the project or not, like all of those things are things that you think about, so that you know how much to charge for something. Still there and there. Still there. And I don't want to do this one right here because it's gonna sharpen that line, but I can show you a trick to soften that up a little bit. Okay. But yeah, it depends a lot, guys, on like that's why it's not that I hate that question. It's just it's a very difficult question, like how much something should be worth. Because I could say, hey, I'm gonna charge $300 for this mask, and someone in the chat's gonna be, oh, that's way too low, and someone might be, oh, that's way too high. So it depends on a lot of circumstances. Again, cost of living, how much it costs to what's the word, to produce, your time, your software. Again, there's so many things. But I did a video We should have it there on the YouTube channel, or it was like a short or something. I think it's on the Clips channel, where I explained that you need to consider all those things, like how much is it gonna cost you, how many things do you need to do, what this thing is gonna be used for. So all of those things matter. There's a book. There's a book that was recommended to me when I started freelancing. It's called Pricing Guidelines Design. Is it this one? No. This one. Pricing and Ethical Guidelines for Artists. And they update this every year. It's not super, I don't think it's super expensive. And it gives you a rough idea of how much things are worth in the US. This is for US. Again, here in Mexico, I cannot charge the same amount that they charge in the US because the clients and the budgets are not there. So what I do is I do use this book sometimes to just give myself an estimate of how much it costs in the US, and then I adapt that to the market that I'm working for. Let's push this in a little bit. There we go. Yeah, but I think every school should be giving a like a budgeting and contracts like class and things like that. Because we're expected to, like, I didn't have that. Like, I didn't really have that sort of classes. So when I started freelancing, I had to learn a lot of this. Some of it the wrong way, like getting scammed and losing money. But you learned. You learn not to make the same sort of mistakes. And that's life. That is freaking life. That's how life works. How much a 3D ad should cost? Again, it depends. It depends. Who's the client? What's the budget? How much are you gonna invest in, like, software, rendering time, computers, light, internet, rent? All of those things are important. And all of those questions, like, if you answered all of those questions, you're gonna get to a number that should be a fair number. Yeah, as I was mentioning, I like always to have this sort of like win-win situation and find a number that everyone's happy with. It's like, okay, yeah, that's worth it. How do you like OpenSubdiv for has? What do you mean by OpenSubdiv? Like this thing that I'm doing right now? I like it. Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do. Look at this, guys. This is important. If I grab this blade material, you're gonna see that right now there's a couple of areas where I need the blade material to get the sharp corners, but then I have this horrible elements. There's two ways to solve this. The first one is to get a triangle. So I'm gonna grab that like edge right there, all this one right here, and I'm gonna collapse it. And if I collapse it, I'm gonna get a triangle on both sides of a specific edge loop. But that triangle might not be the end of the world. Back here, I don't really care, so I'm probably gonna stop right there. So as you can see, there's a triangle right there, but this is a triangle that I care about. As you can see, that's a triangle that doesn't really affect me. So I get to have a little bit of a sharp corner right here, but a very smooth surface everywhere else. So it doesn't translate all the way to this side right here. However, I don't think I'm gonna be able to do it right here on this particular part. So what I need to do is I'm gonna grab this edge loop right here on both sides, and then I'm gonna use a tool called Slide Edge Tool. That's gonna allow me to slide this edge a little bit to the side like that, so that it softens up that sort of like harsh effect that we get here on the element. So that way we get this very nice clean element, right? Without having to sacrifice the triangle. There's a little bit of a bump there. I'm not again too worried about it because even if we 3D print that little bump right there, it's easy to sand it down. So not that big of a deal. But even here, I could do a very similar thing where I just grab this edge right here, for instance. This edge and this edge, and I can slide it a little bit. So mesh tools, slide edge. I'm just gonna slide it up a little bit, not too much, like right around there. And that should minimize the bumpiness a little bit while still keeping a sharp corner on that point. So that one's important. Exactly. Yeah, it's like the crease option in ZBrush. With the PLA print, be able to add that hard edge? Yes, yes. Like that hard edge is gonna be noticeable. Now we can mirror this. There we go. It's getting there. As you can see, it's a slow process, guys. Like we started this mask, what, like 2 hours ago? For those of you that are just joining, we did a very quick sketch here inside of ZBrush. And now the like time-consuming part, the tricky part, is this cleanup process. But Mango, are you there? Mango has been asking about this technique because I did this for the dwarf shoulder pad on the substance course. So Door has this like a shoulder pad right there, and that ram, it's the exact same technique. I did a sculpt inside of ZBrush, and then I cleaned up with Retopology here inside of Maya until I had all of the parts ready for the object. The only difference I'm doing here is that on that ram head, I did erase all of the inner faces because we were not gonna see them. For this one, I cannot erase them because I need to have thickness for the 3D printer to work, right? So yeah. Go for the next part. This one's easy. This is just this like big circle right here. This one's easy, but it's gonna teach you guys a very cool trick here with Retopology, and that's the fact that first of all, you always want to have a center line, and here we do want to have a border. We're gonna have a border that goes around this whole thing. Now it's just a matter of filling in these things. How do we fill these things in? Just go across, right? Follow the loop, follow the flow. There's gonna be a point, which is actually gonna be right now, where things are gonna start stressing a little bit more. What do we do here? We use some of our topology techniques, such as this U shape right here, to make sure that these things flow in the right direction. But the most important thing is that we are gonna have a nice clean loop here on the outer side. That one's very stressed, so I'm gonna modify this a little bit here. So I'm gonna do one more line. There we go. There we go. Actually, yeah, look at that. Everything just fell into place very nicely there. Any tips on learning Unreal? It seems like a very large software. Yeah, so Unreal, here's the thing about Unreal, and pretty much any other software like Maya or Blender. You need to find out what you want to do. Because if you want to learn Unreal, it's not the same thing to learn Unreal for like environment creation, or for like character animation, or for like effects, or for like, I don't know, anything else, that it is to do for programming. Like, do you want to learn how to make games and how to program games with Blueprint or with C#? Well, that's another sort of like a methodology, right? It's not the same as just what's the word, learning how to import a model there like a character and getting some nice materials. So every single part of Unreal is a different part, and if you're going to be working at the studio, it's not expected that you know every single part of Unreal. If you're going to be a 3D artist, for instance, what I would expect a 3D artist to know from Unreal is just how to import materials, how to import the models, how to set up like collection boxes and things like that, and then you and that's it. that's pretty much what I would expect from someone learning or showing me that they know Unreal. Now, you gotta make a choice, man. Like, that's a very important skill, I would say, as an artist. You need to be, I would say, humble enough to understand that you cannot do everything. And I've mentioned this before. Like, I'm a 3D artist, but I specialize in the 3D parts of like asset creation. That's my focus. Like, I'm not an animator. I know how to animate, but I'm not an animator. I would never call myself an animator. I know how to do basic effects inside of like Niagara and things like that. So you need to understand that that every single thing that you do in the 3D world, you need a team. You need more people to do it. Snocktaro! What's up, man? Welcome, and thanks for the follow. We're gonna clean that line in just a second. And this line here. Actually, I'm gonna bevel it. There we go. It's gonna give a very clean line there as well. I hate that little thing that we're getting there. Let's see if I can hide this thing. Right here. Ah, don't worry, Maggot. It's fine. There There we go. Do you know why Maya sometimes creates two vertices at the same spot, especially if you... It's very annoying. And no, it's been... That bug has been present since like Maya 2018 or something. It's annoying. I don't know why it does. I kind of know. I think it's when it finds two vertices that are not exactly on the same place, but it's just annoying. I agree. I'm gonna delete this bevel because I kind of want to push this line a little bit more. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna push it forward. Just this line. There we go. To create a little bit more of a changing plane right there. There we go. Now we bevel. There we go. See that? Now that changing plane is more noticeable. There we go. Man, your topology makes me want to retopo all my models. yeah. Clean topology is always something nice to see. And again, this is one thing that I've mentioned. Like, people are... I've seen portfolios, I've seen a lot of portfolios, and people have been getting more and more lazy about topology with the years. Like, they just don't care about it as much anymore. And that's very important. You should care about topology. You should definitely care about topology. It's like same thing with characters. People are not taking too much care about form anymore on their anatomy, for instance. And the anatomy shapes and everything looks wobbly, looks horrible. Bad. Nah, I don't think AI is going to be able to do it. We already have AI retopology. That's called series mesher, guys. Like, if you just go here, series mesh and series mesh, like, you're going to get the computer doing the job and trying to find, like, the proper, like, solutions and things like that. So, like, now, look at this. Like, does this work? Could this work? Maybe. But it's not sharp. It's not a lot of stuff. So, yeah, it's my style. It's my art style. I'm thinking about adding a section line here in the center, but I'm not sure. I don't think Doom would like that. I think he would prefer, like, super clean shapes right here. See a little bit of wobbliness still on that area right there. And this is the sort of like perfectionist like side of things, where you're looking for that little change, that little element. You please perfectly explain Maya XGen for making perfect hairs first. Mayur, there's already a video on YouTube. I've shown you this trick again, guys. I mean, I'm not gonna get tired of sharing it with you, but if you go to YouTube and you look for my channel, right? And you go over here and you go to the little magnifying glass and you look XGen. Boom! XGen workshop. This was a live that we did 5 months ago. XGen tutorial 9 months ago. XGen files right here as well. So just look it up, man. Like, just go to my channel, literally go into the area, look for XGen. You guys want to learn about UVs, you're struggling with UVs, there you go, just look for UVs. We're gonna have videos about UVs. Are you struggling with retopology? Just look for Retopo. You're gonna have videos about retopology. So we got over almost 300 videos on the channel. There's gotta be something there that can help you. There's gotta be something there. Can you sharpen it with... Yeah, you could... Like, this process that I'm doing here, is the exact same thing you could do in CModeler. Where you could, like, extract elements, do series mesher, do a clean... I just find it easier to do here inside of Maya. But it's the same thing. Yeah. Let's see. This new Blender guru are really blinding people by just using N-gun and triangle all the time. Yeah. I had a discussion on someone on the comments from last stream, from the portfolio review. because I mentioned that endguns were not good. Like, you should always try to triangulate your endguns at least. And he was like, oh, but there are situations where endguns are fine. It's like, yeah, of course there are situations. But if someone's learning 3D and I'm teaching them 3D, I'm not gonna tell them that endguns are good, because that's something that they're gonna have to learn, and they're gonna have to find out when they're good and when not good. So, yeah. Let's do the mouth now. That's gonna be tricky. I normally do left side, so I do want to have a straighter element right here. As much as I remember, you also used to be... I can see it. Freaking hard is stopping. Yes, Anurag. I used to work for Nextut. I worked for them for 4 years, but I quit it last year. So there's also, yeah, and I think I have like 600 videos on that other channel, and the channel, I don't think it's active anymore. Haven't seen a lot of stuff from them, to be honest. But the videos are still good. So if you're looking for a specific topic, you might find it there as well. Breakstar GMR, what's up, man? Push this a little bit more there. This one is gonna have to fit with this line right here. That one's gonna be interesting. Let's grab all of this, guys. There we go. For instance, here I cannot use the quad draw, so I'm gonna have to like manually push these things up, get them close to the vertex from where we're gonna be extruding. Go. Now we extrude. As you can see, we generate the overlap that we're going for. I'm not too fond of this overlap here on the nose, so we might need to push the nose vertex forward, because I want the nose to be on top of the mouth. Go. Does that work? Yeah. Okay. Cool. Now here's very important. If we're gonna be mirroring this to the other side, we need to delete the center faces. Chaos Frost, thanks for the sub, man. Welcome to the stream, and thanks for the sub, or the follow. There's the extra vertex right there that I hate. Cool. Okay, so let's sharpen up the thickness again. There we go. Of course, we're gonna sharpen up the lips. We're also gonna sharpen up this thing right here, and this thing right here, and this thing right here. There we go. Daddy Streams, thanks for the sub, man. Why did I quit Nextut? I've answered that before. We just had creative differences. Like they wanted to take the project in a direction that I did not agree with, and yeah, it was just like, that was pretty much it. Like, the directions were not exactly what I had in mind. Like, they had plans for specific things that I didn't think were the best for the educational content that I wanted to produce. And that's why I decided to just say, hey, well, thank you for the time, but that's it. Go. Do I like this? Let's add the blend material. I like it. I don't love it here on the inside. I think I do need to have like a... Here's a trick that I show you guys. So I'm gonna grab everything here. Just bevel. Yeah, that's much better. a sharper lip. Looking for the overlaps, make sure that they're looking good. Crudo miniatures, the leg is getting better. I mentioned earlier in the stream that I've been able to actually step on it a little bit, like not on my lip. Like I'm able to walk a little bit with the help of the crutch, of course. So I've been moving a little bit faster because jumping with both crutches was very, very difficult. And I've mentioned this. My studio is on the 2nd floor, so going up the stairs with both crutches, ugh, not great. There we go! Maggot McFly, thanks for the sub, man. And we got a hype train going. I never understand how these hype trains work, but we got a hype train going. So if you guys want to keep the train going, follows, subs, and all that stuff, it's very helpful. It's not needed, but it's very helpful. That's gonna be the lips right there. There we go. I deserve more? Ah! Thank you, thank you. It's, socials are very weird, guys. I think there's a very big luck factor involved. So I'm just doing what I can. Helping where I can. But thank you, man, thank you. Hey, do you think it's even worth it to spend dedicated time to make hair cards? I mean, yes, hair cards will always be used, man. Well, not always, right? But they'll still be used. Because you still have games for platforms that are like simpler or like not as powerful, like the Nintendo Switch, like portable devices, like phones, and you're gonna need hair cards. You cannot use fibers on those. Maybe in like, I don't know, like 50 years, like we move to something else, right? But I would say at least for the next 10 years, you're still gonna be using hair cards every now and then. Thank you guys for the follows, Nerdinator, there we go, and Shido777 as well. Thank you very much. How do we go for problem is it if you have an e-pole on a curved surface or at the border of a surface that is going to be extruded? What the hell is an e-pole? I probably have heard it from a different name, but I'm not exactly sure what an e-pole is. You mean this? Like that one right there? Like a 5-sided like connection? I use edge pole. Yeah, it's like a 5-sided, like this kind of stuff. Like this is very common, even in faces and things like that. It's very, very common. So I don't think it's that much of an issue. I don't play football, but see, I was very sad when I got hurt because I was going to the gym at that point, and I was definitely getting healthier. And then I got this freaking injury, so I hope I can go to the gym soon. I was really getting a lot of energy from doing it, so yeah. Mirror X positive, apply. There we go. So that's the lower lip right there. Let's grab upper lip to see how this is gonna fit. Control E. Extrude forward. Definitely gonna push the border of the lip forward. So all of this guys right here forward. Let's add some hardness here. Yeah, no, poles are fine. We talk about poles on the Retopology course, especially for characters. They're very, very common. There's one, for instance, here on the cheek. There's one here on the eyebrow. There's one here behind the eyes. There's one on the ear. There's one on the jaw. So those poles are very, very useful. Santiago says, muchas gracias por tus tutoriales. Llevo unos meses en esto del 3D y me ha ayudado demasiado. Gracias, hermano. You rock. Gracias, Santiago. Aquí andamos. I think I'm gonna bevel this ones as well. And I'm probably gonna push this in a little bit. There we go, another follow by XPEC CRX. Thank you, man. Yes, actually, the teacher that I learned one of these techniques from, his name is Josh Herman. He's currently working as art director at Wizards of the Coast, I think, last I checked. And he was our like Maya teacher back at Noman. So he was sharing us he was sharing techniques with us, and at that point he was working on Iron Man 3. So he did a lot of these techniques for Iron Man. And the cool thing about the Iron Man suits is that they do not deform, right? Like, they're always solid pieces. They don't bend. Well, some of them bend, but most of the pieces are just like solid pieces. So yeah. Let me check this thing right here, because yeah, see, the mouth had a little bit more curvature to it, and I feel like we're losing a little bit of that. Ah, it's not that bad. I might wanna... Let's see. There we go. Hype train completed. Thank you, guys. Thank you. I'm trying to see if I can make this... Okay, you guys gonna see a cool trick here. I'm gonna grab both of these pieces. Let's save real quick. I'm gonna go deform. Then I'm gonna say lattice. And I'm gonna add a couple of divisions to the lattice, like here. So what I wanna do is I wanna grab the lattice points, like this ones and this ones. And I wanna modify the shape of the mouth. And this is kind of like a soft selection sort of thing. This is really handy to modify multiple pieces in a soft way. So lattice is a tool that I use all the time for hard surface stuff mainly. I wish it were my university t-shirt. My t-shirt is very bad. That's what I wanted to say earlier today that I found very funny. I've gotten messages, several messages from people all over the world, from teachers watching my content to then teach to their students, which is so amazing. Like, knowing that I'm contributing to the 3D world in that way is just so cool. So there's teachers out there using my content to teach which is so amazing. ¿Haces tutoriales en Spanish? No, I don't do tutorials in Spanish, but I do offer mentorships. So if you want mentorships and you want the mentorships to be in Spanish, I can do mentorships in Spanish. But no, tutorials are in English because that's the language that I can get, like, I can share with more people, right? Who's your painting teacher? Oh, that was just, yeah, that's what yeah. And that's one of the advantages, like I've always said, like, my time at Noman was one of the most amazing times in my life. And I got to learn from people who were working on so many cool projects. But then I also realized something that's very important. A lot of the techniques that like top tier like artists have are the same techniques that we're teaching right here. So you don't necessarily need to be learning from the top guys. It's very cool if you can do it, of course. But what I mean is, at the end of the day, and this is what we started this stream with, all of the things that you learn, it doesn't really matter how you get to the result, as long as you get to the result, right? How much do you charge for mentoring? At this time, the rate is at $45 per session. It's a $45 session. It's a 1-hour session. I record the session so that you can keep it and reference it as many times as you want. And I give you follow-up for any, like, I kind of like give you like homework and some exercises to work with so that you can continue improving on your stuff. You can ask people who have taken my mentorships, and I think it's I know it's a lot of money sometimes, or depending on the region where you're at. I think it's a fair number, and I think that you do get quite a bit of information, because you can answer, like, I can answer the questions like very specifically. Like, we go straight to whatever it is you're struggling with. It could be forms, anatomy, modeling, rendering, portfolio, like a bunch of different things. Yeah, Evil Fry was one of our mentees a couple of months ago. If I got a mentorship that just asked you to sing karaoke with me, would you do it? Probably not. Probably not. I want to make sure that both of our times are used in a good way. When you bake maps, do you need to place the low poly inside the high poly silhouette? Yes, they need to be one on top of the other. Like, if they stick out a little bit, that's fine. That's what the bake is for, but they need to be one on top of the other. Otherwise, the baking process is not gonna work. You can contact me through Discord, gaming, RP Gaming. So if you send me a Discord, or if you send me an email to... Oh, give me 1 second. I always open the notepad and then I have sensible information there. Give me 1 second. Okay, yeah. There's nothing here. Nothing important right now. So you can also send me an image to an email to Leal at criticalhitstudio.com, and I'll send you the information there. So Leal at criticalhitstudio.com. There we go. Okay, so let's mirror this. Let's check for any weird vertex. We got a couple there. This is gonna be the underside of the mouth, as well as a little bit of the chin. So, Control E. I'm gonna do something a little bit interesting. I'm gonna rotate this extrusion so that it's a little bit thicker on the underside than it is on the upper side. Genuine question: how important is drawing knowledge if you want to be serious about 3D? That's a good question. I don't think you need to be great at drawing, but at least knowing the basics of like perspective and vanishing points, basic shading things. There was a class that I took at Noman again, and it helped me quite a bit. It's called Viscom. It's called Visual Communication. And they make us do this sort of things. So I could not draw, like, if you tell me, hey, could you draw this motorcycle? I'm going to struggle quite a bit. I could do it with a lot of time and patience, but this is not something that I can, like, do easily. But this sort of stuff I can do, right? Like, if you can get to this point of just, like, knowing how to sketch with basic perspective, again, basic shading, basic line work, I would say that's important, because it allows you to also take a concept, for instance, and if there's things out of the concept that you don't understand, just transform it. So again, for characters, like, if you can get to this point, you're already in a good place, because you're not going to be doing the design, right? But just being able to express some ideas and understand forms, I think it's important. That book in the middle is awesome. Which one? I don't see any books. Maybe it was one in one of the things that I clicked. But yeah, it's again, it's a good skill to have, to be honest. If you can invest on it, if you can take one class or something, especially gesture drawing, like if you can take gesture drawing as a character artist, really good investment, I would say. Because it will help you understand form, proportions, rhythm, that sort of things that's important to have as a character artist. And you're gonna see this in a lot of like job like solicitations. You're gonna see, if you know, again, like this soft skills, they call them soft skills sometimes, it's a plus. I'm not sure if I want to sharpen this corners. I definitely want to sharpen this corner right here to really get the indentation there, but I'm not sure if I want to sharpen the other ones. My professor told me to model out what I want to draw and then trace that for reference. Since yeah, that's a good technique as well. Abe, your Substance Painter course, beginner to master, is a lot of different from the one called Advanced Texture Characters. Yes, so the Advanced Texture Character? Yeah, so the Advanced Texture Character, that's the one I did when I was at Nextdude, and that's Thyros. We do cover Substance, and we do cover, like, interesting techniques, but it's expected that you already have the high poly model from the other course that I did, the Thyros, the body, the Sculpting Pass. The new one that I have, the Substance Painter course from beginner to master, is strictly about Substance Painter. So I show you more techniques about how Substance Painter works as a software and how to get the best out of it. So yeah, it's a little bit different than the one from Thyros, but both of them are good. Like, I'm quite proud of all of the courses that I did for Next. So if you guys get one of them, and I know some of them are on sale sometimes, or all the time, it's fine. Like, you're gonna get good information. But if you want to support this channel, the new courses are the best way to do it, because I'm not getting anything from the old courses. Yes, if you want to do environment design in Unreal, modeling and lighting is definitely gonna help. There we go, almost done, guys. Look at that. Not too shabby, as my professor used to say. Not too shabby. Not bad. Not bad at all. I'm a little bit worried about the printing stage. I might need to create like another layer on the inside to keep it like a little bit smoother, because this could potentially be problematic, but the outside looks freaking good. There you go. Thank you, Risu. It says I have the SP course and it's be amazing so far. Highly recommend. Can you link it? Yes, of course, man. It's this one. So it's the Substance Painter from Beginner to Master. There you go. That's the Substance course. And all the other courses there on the side, I am very proud of them. I think they're really good. Okay, so next part. We got 30 more minutes. Ooh, are we gonna be able to finish this in 30 minutes? I think so. We're not that far. So next part is this flat area. I'm probably gonna do this part as a single shape, and then we'll do this side part. So let's go. What's your opinion on VR chat as a creator? I think VR is a very cool thing. We I've mentioned this before. The main sort of stuff that we do here at the studio is VR content. We do VR content for museums. So VR is a very, very cool technology. I do find it a little bit uncomfortable after using it for a long time, but that's me, because I know some people can like play games for hours as well. So I find it a little bit uncomfortable after like an hour or two. But it's a really, really good technology. I have not done any VR chat thing yet, like this avatars. I follow a creator on TikTok. He's very funny. He has this Knuckles like character, and he does like really, really yeah, just really funny stuff. So yeah, it's a cool thing, man. Like there's a market for everything. I've mentioned this before. Like I was surprised about how big the market was, for instance, for miniatures. And there's a big market for miniatures. There's a big market for jewelry. There's a big market for VR chat. There's a big market for pretty much everything. Roblox, there you go. Mods for different games. So as always, guys, what I'll tell you is don't like have an open mind for all this kind of things, because you can find like really interesting business opportunities if you look for this kind of like things. So yeah, I would not. There's only one thing that I'm gonna be what's the word? Very opinionated about, because as I was mentioning, there's a lot of work for a lot of things. Some things you might not think are as moral or as ethical. Like I know there's a lot of XXX things that you can do with 3D as well. My only advice is, if you're gonna be doing things that are not seen with the best of lights in society, try to get yourself a like a secondary name, like an alias, because then what ends up happening is if you use your name and you do that sort of stuff, people are gonna know you as that guy that does that sort of stuff. And especially if you get like a little bit bigger, you might not want to get like associated with that sort of stuff. I'm gonna give you an example, and I'm gonna place them on the second monitor to make sure that we don't get like banned or anything. There's this creator that I love. His name is Artgerm. He's a very, very famous guy in the comic book like industry. Stanley Lau. Amazing creator. I have several of his covers because they're just like so cool. And you can see he definitely sexualizes the female form and the male form quite a bit. But that's his style. Like he's known for this. Same as Scott Campbell, right? So Scott Campbell. He also does this sort of like pinup art for all of his creations, and I would say he even like sexualizes things a little bit more. So, but he's known for this. This is his style, so it's fine for him. There's another creator. Let me just make sure that we don't get any like overly sexualized stuff. There we go. So Sakimi-chan, you probably known her. She's also very famous. She also has this sort of like Artgerm style. But I know she does like very like XXX things as well. So if you want to be an artist that does that kind of stuff, again, it's fine. Just keep in mind that Disney is probably not gonna hire you, right? Because your name is associated with this kind of stuff. So I'm not saying it's a bad way to make a living. It's perfectly valid, and there's a market for it. I'm just telling you, don't come complaining a couple of years later when no one's hiring you to do like family-friendly things when you've been doing very adult-themed things as well, right? So it's just a decision that you make as an artist, and you need to sort of like stick by it. So just be very mindful about that. If you don't mind, if you're like, yeah, I'm gonna be that guy and I'm gonna be known for doing that kind of stuff, sure, go for it. Power to you. But again, you gotta understand, there's a very famous quote that says, you can do anything, but you can't do everything. So you need to understand that once you make a decision on what kind of content or what kind of things you want to create, well, that's it. That's your brand. That's your name there. So it's going to be difficult to differentiate yourself from that later on. Loops 13. There you go. Para contactarte en Discord, yeah. So if you go to the Discord channel and you go to our channel here, just click on this one right here. That's my username. Just send me a message and I'll see the request and I'll answer to you. Yeah, and that's something, again, coming back to what we were talking about earlier today about like making a decision on what type of specialty to be in 3D or to do in 3D. You need to understand, like, because I see this all the time with students that are getting into the 3D world, where they're like, I love World of Warcraft, I want to do hand-painted style, I love realism, I want to do like cinematics, I love a stylized like Fortnite, I want to do that, I love anime stuff, I want to do a character for Genshin Impact. It's like, dude, that's like a bunch of different like ranges of things, and it's good that you know how to do a little bit of everything. But then if you want to do that, and you want to do animation, and you want to do effects, and you want to program your own video game, and you want to do advertisement, like, that's too much, man. It's too much. You're not gonna be able to really specialize in something and be really strong in one area, because you're trying to do so many things. So it's good to find a focus. There was this game, what's it called? Tunic. Haven't played it, but I heard good things about this one. And you could be like, hey, I want to do games, and I want to do this style of games. That's perfect. Go for it. Do it. But then all of the skills that you're going to learn to do this kind of stuff might not translate to do a game like God of War, or like, I don't know, like Assassin's Creed, or things like that. So you need to decide where you want to put in your focus, because it's like the Olympians right now, right? On the Olympics. Like, if you're a swimmer, yes, you can swim different types of styles. If you're a runner, you probably could do like a triathlon or something like that. But you're not going to be doing weightlifting and like hammer throwing or like javelin throwing, things like that. Those are like different specialties that you need to like understand what you want to be working for. I'm not super fond of this piece. I don't love this piece. And I'm not sure why I don't love this piece. It kind of breaks from the rest of the elements. I'm gonna delete that piece. I need to go back to ZBrush. I don't think we're gonna be able to finish. So we're gonna do, let's try doing 2 more pieces here, like this 2 right here. And then let's see how that looks. Because I definitely need to go back to ZBrush and fix that piece, because I was not looking at it. Yeah, exactly. It's not flowing with the mask. It's just, it was not working. And that's another advice. I actually gave this advice to Solid Mango not too long ago. You need to, as an artist, especially as a 3D artist, you need to be conscious enough to be able to... no, actually, I told this to David. What was it, like 2 days ago, right, David? You need to understand that like, sometimes things are not going to be working. So if things are not working, you just erase them and start again. That's it. Polygons are free. Like, no one's gonna charge you an extra $1 for doing another polygon. So you need to be okay with starting over a lot of times. A lot of times. You know what? I'm gonna push this down. Kind of want this to give me a little bit of silhouette there, kind of like floating. And now this piece is gonna go inside that stuff. Yeah, so you gotta remove that fear of like starting over. Sometimes we waste too much time trying to make something work when it's not working, and it will be way easier if you just started over. And you guys, yeah, you can tell them. So you can tell them about the feedback, but I'm gonna give you guys another advice, and this is life advice. Sometimes that thing that I just said, like sometimes when things are just not working and you need to start over, it applies to work environments, it applies to relationships. Like some relationships might not work, and it's better to just like cut your losses and move on than try to make certain things work. And I'm talking about like romantic relationships, I'm talking about friend relationships, I'm talking about job relationships. Like you gotta learn to let go. It's a very, very important thing that you need to learn. Yeah, so David is working on a lizard character, and he sent me his work in progress, and he was doing some scales, and I saw them and they sucked, and I just told him those scales suck, man. That's horrible. Just do it again, because it was just like it was a bad scale. Like the alpha that he was using, or the detail that he was getting, it was just not working. Is Adobe Stager a good software? I don't know, man. I don't want to say something because then they're not gonna sponsor me. No, I think it's a good software for like design stuff. For us as 3D artists, especially games and film and things like that, you're not gonna use it too much, to be honest. You're not really gonna use it. But if you're doing like other things, again, like advertisement or things like that, you might use it. The problem is you need to pay extra for it, I think. I don't remember how much was the license for it, but it's a little bit of an extra, like a price point. So I don't recommend it. Like I would rather pay for a license for Maya or for ZBrush or for Substance Painter than for Stager. How can I show the cube preview in the corner there? If you go to Windows and then UI Elements and no, sorry, display heads up display, and this is a view cube right here. I don't use it, to be honest, but okay, that's better. Control E. Go. Let's grab this piece right here. Okay, so this one's gonna be beneath the other ones, right around there. I've done a lot of base meshes when I was learning. Every time I remove proportion, yeah, the more you practice, the more you mess up something, the what's the word? The more you're gonna learn. That's why you gotta be able to start over, because every time you start over, it's another learning opportunity. That's what it's sort of like my main message from what I'm telling you right now. So it's important to be willing to put in the time and do the work to learn. Because there's this thing that I've seen, especially in some like the newer portfolio or newer students that I've been evaluating. They expect to be taught how to do things once they're on the job, and that's not how it works. Like, yes, the job is going to teach you things. Yes, you're going to learn things when you're in a studio or in a project, but you're expected to know things already, because otherwise, why am I hiring you, right? Why are you going into the team? So you need to have that sort of like mindset of, I'm gonna learn, I'm gonna do my homework, I'm gonna be prepared, so that when the opportunity to work in a project or in a studio happens, I can prove that I know how to do things. Okay, we're gonna have to definitely fix a couple of things right here. Like, I don't mind the curve, but as you can see, that pinch right there is way too much. I prefer to have like a softer, there we go, a softer curve. There we go. Perfect. Look at that. That's a cool piece. Let's add the bling. Yeah, I like that. Looks quite organic, which I like. I might straighten this up a little bit more though. Daniel says, hey, if you're loving the YouTube videos and the streams, been learning a lot. Keep up the good work. Thank you, my friend. You keep up the good work. You guys keep learning. You guys keep improving. That's what I want to do with this whole... Like, that's why this project was born. Because I want to help you guys. But you guys gotta put in the work, because a lot of you are just watching the videos. And then when I ask you, hey, have you done your homework? Have you done the exercises? You're not doing the exercises. So that's not working. That doesn't work. You gotta put in the work, guys. Like, because I can keep up like uploading videos and series and tutorials and everything. If you're not doing the work, if you're not actually practicing, well, it's gonna be complicated. Oh, I kind of do want a hard surface point right there. Let's try the trick that I mentioned. So I'm gonna grab that vertex right there. And this is going to create some weird topology. Bear with me. So, no. I don't like that. It's a very weird pinch right there. Very weird. I think this corner is way too far out. There we go. I met someone recently who have charged over $15,000 for just the character animation. Again, it can happen, yeah. I've seen ridiculous numbers for budgets and projects, so that's why I don't like giving you guys a number for whenever someone asks, how much would you charge for this? I don't know, man. There's a lot of variables involved. Again, imagine Mr. Beast context you, and he's like, hey man, I want you to do the new logo animation, 3D animation for my channel. You can easily charge that, because he's going to be using it and making a lot of money with that. But then let's say your aunt who has a little store, maybe she sells like fruits or something, and she wants your help with the logo. You're not gonna charge her that, right? Uh-oh. Are we gonna crash? Crash, Maya. I accidentally smoothed the art strip, or the high poly. So the client, the amount of work it's gonna take you, all of those things are... Sorry, grandma. No paperwork. There's a lot of variables involved. Ugh, I don't love this one either. I think it's very round. I don't mind being a little bit round, but I think it's a bit too much. Okay, so here's I'm gonna show you something here, guys. This is an important trick. So I want this part right here, this connection point, to be sharper, because right now that round effect I don't like. It doesn't flow with the rest of the character. But I cannot add a couple of lines right here, because if I do that, as you can see, we get a very weird pinch on this part right here. So sometimes for some pieces it might be better to just split them into multiple like meshes. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna remove some of these edge loops that were supporting the piece, just so that it's easier to rebuild what I want to rebuild. I'm gonna grab this edge right here and this one right here. I'm gonna say edit mesh and then detach. And now these two are separate meshes, so mesh and separate. Now this one I do need to sort of like rebuild a little bit here with the bridge tool to make this sort of like whole again. Gonna delete these edges for now. There we go. So now we have this new sort of like cube piece, and it's gonna be a lot easier to control this cube piece as its own sort of like separate piece. Does that make sense? So that's one way in which you can deal with complex surfaces like that one. There we go. So now that piece is a separate piece. And then this piece, again, just to make my life a little bit easier, I'm gonna remove some of these inserted loops that I have right here. And just bridge this. Yes, my friend, Tranquil, I do have, I think I have 2 slots available. So if you want to know the information, just send me a message on Discord and I'll be happy to share it with you. There we go. Look at that. So now this piece looks way, way more interesting. Right? So instead of complicating it and trying to modify things so that you can push these things around and make them fit, just split them into 2 different meshes. And then we can even play a little bit there with the depth. So one of them is a little bit over the other one. That's gonna get another sort of like visual detail right there. That's just gonna look good. I'm not sure what to do with this, guys. Should we keep this as a hollow like element so that we can see the face through the mask, or a little bit of the cheek through the mask, or should we cover it? Doom usually has it covered, to be honest, so it might be a good idea to cover it. But yeah, let's mirror this. As well. Hey. Go. Mirror. It's getting there. Oh my God, what did I press? No, don't crash, Maya. Don't crash. It's gonna be a very sad crash at the very end of the stream, right? Yeah, I think we should cover it as well. Well, anyway, I mean, Maya is probably gonna crash, and that means that I'm gonna lose a couple of minutes there of work. Let's hope it doesn't. Yeah, I guess that's gonna be the end of the stream then, my friends. So, for those of you that are joining us, we started with this Duncan head, which is the character from our anatomy class, from an anatomy course and 3D printing. And then we did a very interesting blocking here instead of ZBrush with just some basic techniques such as stream dynamic and hard polish and things like that. And once we had this, we jumped into Maya, which is right now crashing, and we were creating this mask right here. Don't worry, this mask, or if I lose some of the parts, that's fine. I'm probably gonna finish the mask, and I'll see if I can 3D print it and show it to you guys in a short or something. Next what's the word? Next stream is gonna be on Friday, next Friday. So in 1 week, we're gonna have our stream as every other Friday. I will probably take the mask to ZBrush and add just a couple of little details here and there. Although some of those discords, or some of this, sorry, ArtB Gaming, I'll take a look at your message as soon as we're finished here. But yeah, I'll probably add some details. We can also add those details after the 3D print, so directly on the physical mask. But for the thumbnail, yeah, I'll probably be doing some light sculpting, because this wouldn't be a game asset because it's very heavy on the poly count, but it could be a cinematic asset, so we can make a little bit of a render there for the mask. So yeah, that's it, guys. If you wanna support the channel, of course, a follow, a like, all of that stuff really helps. If you wanna check some of our premium courses where we talk about this processes and more, you can check our site. Sarn there has just linked them on the chats, and that's pretty much it. I'm gonna go get something to eat, then I'm gonna go and watch Deadpool. Hopefully it's gonna be a cool movie, and I'll be seeing you back here in the channel for the next shorts and videos in the next week. So thank you as always, everyone, for being part of this project and for helping us grow. Thank you very much for your support, and I'll be seeing you back on the next one. Have a great weekend, my friends. Enjoy, and let's keep on learning, keep up improving. Bye bye.